American Comics, starting with Superman. Greetings, fellow multiversal adventurers. It's an honor to have you back in this saga that has us all hooked. Official channel statement: this story is 100% epic fiction, so please don't attempt real magic. The results aren't guaranteed and insurance won't cover it. The rights to this masterpiece belong entirely to its brilliant original author. We are just a barge sharing it with you. Do you want to keep being part of this amazing community? Join our ninja army of subscribers on YouTube and give this content a like. And for true fans, our Patreon has exclusive ninjutsu waiting for you. Chapter 51, The Man Behind the Savior. Mercenary Tate lay on the ground, pretending to be dead for a long time before he dared to raise his head. He first took stock of the situation. After the battle with the Avengers, most of the mercenaries present had broken several bones, but some of their injuries were minor, while others were seriously injured. Without timely treatment, they would definitely not survive for long. One black mercenary was lucky enough to only have 2 broken ribs. He looked at Captain Tate weakly and asked, "Is the boss?" "Don't worry, Pete. LexCorp will pay us back." "No, they'll pay us double." Mercenary Captain Tate smiled. Grandpa Lou was a respectable man when he was alive. "Let's spit, ahem, I mean, how about we collect his body before we leave?" Small town, Kent Farm. When Leah, Diana, and Clark arrived at Kent Farm, Clark's mother was working on the farm. She heard a voice in the sky, looked up, and saw Clark. "Clark, you're finally back." Martha quickly dropped her work and rushed over to meet the 3 of them. "Mom, I'm back." "Sorry to have you worried." Clark landed and hugged his adoptive mother. "Mom, I found them." "I found them? Who did you find?" Martha asked, puzzled. "My biological parents, where I came from, and my people," Clark said with a smile. "That's wonderful." Martha's smile was a little strained. She was happy that Clark had found his biological parents, but she was also worried that Clark would leave them. Clark, sensing his adoptive mother's worry, quickly comforted her. "My planet was destroyed over a decade ago. I'm probably the only survivor in my family," Leah added. "You have a fair-skinned, beautiful, long-legged cousin." Martha felt even worse after hearing this. "I'm sorry, Clark." "It's okay," Clark replied with a smile. "He's inside. I won't let him do the farm work." Martha sighed. Hearing his adoptive father was ill, Clark rushed into the house without a word. Aunt Martha smiled at Leah and Diana, who was standing beside her. "Leah, is this your friend?" Aunt Martha offered a rare moment of gossip. "Yes, Aunt Martha's name is Diana." "Diana, this is Clark's mother, you can call her Aunt Martha." Leah introduced the 2. Diana smiled and called out crisply, "Hello, Aunt Martha, you're a nice girl." "Hey, Diana, do you have any other sisters? Introduce our Clark to them too." "Don't leave, stay for dinner." Leah naturally didn't refuse the chance to have a free meal. After all, even if he went home, his busy uncle wouldn't care about his meals. The details of the dinner are needless to say. Aunt Martha's cooking was truly excellent. Diana, having tasted ingredients from her own farm for the first time, completely disregarded her goddess image and devoured the food. It's worth noting that Clark's adoptive father, Jonathan Kent, has died in many versions of the comics. Throughout American comics, many superhero families, especially the male elders, have tragic lives. Take Spider-Man's Uncle Ben, Black Panther's father, Green Arrow's father, and Batman's Wayne, for example. They were all childhood traumas. Leah could sense that Ken's father's health wasn't good, but Aunt Martha told him he'd been to the hospital, but nothing had been found. Ken's stubborn father refused further hospitalization for observation. Leah wondered if Ken's father's condition might be the work of the universe. After dinner, Leah, Diana, and Clark sat in the yard at the edge of the farm. Clark looked up at the sky. Silent for a long time. "What are you thinking about?" Leah asked, touching Clark's arm. "Krypton. In the Kryptonian spaceship at the North Pole, I learned about the 28 star systems, but it feels so unreal." Leah interrupted Clark. "Yes, so unreal." Clark nodded. Leah chuckled. "Don't worry about whether it's true or not. The main thing is what you want to do. If you want to use this knowledge to accelerate the development of Earth's science and technology, I guarantee you'll win Nobel Prizes in your lifetime." Clark shook his head. "Because of a Krypton's artificial genetic cultivation, my family are all scientists, but I didn't have such genes implanted, and I never thought about becoming a scientist. Having said that, Although I learned about the knowledge of the 28 star systems, it was all crammed into my brain. Without investing a long time in learning, I can't master it. The implication was that I'm Superman. Do you know what Superman means? It means that problems can be solved with fists, so we don't have to consider using knowledge. Oh, by the way, didn't you ask me where I got today's kryptonite weapon? It was developed by Lex, including today's monster. I was about to fly back to town when Lex's mercenaries attacked me with a kryptonite bazooka, Leah said. Clark was furious at the news. He casually picked up his coat from the chair and said, "That's unreasonable. I need to go find him." Leah quickly stopped Clark. "You can't find him. He's dead." Oh. The destroyer broke out of LexCorp and killed so many people. Unfortunately, I almost thought I could be friends with him. This was actually misleading. Leah didn't lie, but used some language to trick Clark into thinking that way. Clark naturally assumed that the destroyer had killed Lex. He didn't doubt it, but just shook his head. After a long silence, he said, "It's my fault. Instead of blaming yourself, why don't we go destroy all the kryptonite meteorites above town tomorrow? I also need to make time to visit LexCorp to make sure they don't have any kryptonite weapons left." As Leah spoke, he took out a kryptonite sword and handed it to Clark. "This kryptonite sword is for you." "No need, Leah. I hope you keep it." Clark smiled. He added, "Lee, I need someone who can make sure that the Kryptonians won't threaten the world. Do you understand me, even if it means killing?" Lee asked tentatively. Clark looked out the window, looking at the bustling streets of the town a kilometer away. He said word by word, "Even if it means killing." "Okay." Lee nodded and smiled. Superman can't kill, because he is the savior. In this case, Lee is willing to be the man holding the knife behind the savior. Thank you all for the rewards. Please have more of these plot guessing rewards in the future. Daily recommendation votes are requested. Chapter 52, There was an earthquake at night. That night, when Leah and Diana returned home, Uncle James wasn't home. He'd left a note on the table, inscribed in bold letters, "Overnight shift, please take care of your own dinner." I can't count on him for dinner. After all, Leah shook his head helplessly. He could manage a bit when he was alone, but now with Diana in the house, dinner couldn't be easy anymore. Fortunately, Oliver had given Leah a card with plenty of dollars, enough to him last year's even if he ate out every day. No financial worries for the time being. That evening, Diana pestered Leah to watch TV with her. With such a beauty by his side, no man would waste his time on a boring TV show. However, for some unexplained reason, Leah's behavior that night had been repeatedly edited, leaving the reader to imagine the details. Note the chapter title. I'm sure any seasoned reader can easily calculate how Leah would drastically attack the young Lion King tonight. A few days later, Metropolis, Daily Planet. Lois Lane had spent the past few days traversing the streets of Metropolis, ravaged by Joel the Destroyer. She had gathered clues and wrote a report titled Shocking. The Mysterious Savior. However, when she handed the manuscript to her editor-in-chief, the portly editor merely glanced at it and casually threw it out. "That's nonsense." The chubby editor walked over from behind his desk and barked impatiently at Lois. "Lois, you can't use blurry photos and low-resolution videos from the internet as your story. You're not a science fiction writer, you're a journalist." "Journalists need evidence." Lois bent down to pick up the manuscript from the ground and angrily argued, "Aren't these photos proof? Do you really believe what the government says, that it was done by terrorists? I saw that man in person when I went to the North Pole. He truly possesses incredible powers. This isn't a ride to kindergarten. There are lots of curves ahead. Please fasten your seatbelts. Please vote." Chapter 53, Lena Luthor. The editor-in-chief put one hand on her waist and rubbed her brow with the other hand, trying to suppress her anger. "Louise, you still dare to mention the Arctic. I expressly forbade you to go, but you went anyway. Do you really think I dare not fire you? My trip to the Arctic was not without gain. I am sure that the government is hiding something from the people. As journalists, shouldn't we let the people know the truth?" Louise argued, looking directly into the editor-in-chief's eyes without any hesitation. The editor-in-chief's momentum weakened a bit. "We should tell the truth to the people, but the premise is that we can't go against the government. I tell you what you should report." He opened a video from his laptop and explained, "Lena Luthor took over LexCorp. She held a press conference this morning. This is the first-hand information Cole recorded from the scene." Louise was puzzled. "Lena Luthor? Who is she? Why did she take over LexCorp?" Don't you know yet? Lex Luthor was unfortunately killed in this terrorist attack. As Lex's sister, she was said to be adopted. It was natural for her to inherit LexCorp, the editor-in-chief explained. While she was speaking, the video on the computer had already started playing. Louise saw a woman about her age, about 20 years old, standing on the screen upright, kind-hearted man who dares to face the blood. He will always live in my heart. This terrorist attack in Metropolis cannot bring us down, nor will it bring down Metropolis. LexCorp will provide free medical assistance and temporary housing to the victims of this incident, and will launch an urban reconstruction plan in the near future. We unite to fight against terrorists and all injustices and difficulties. As Lena Luthor's speech ended, thunderous applause rang out from the audience. Many people were even moved to tears by Lena Luthor's spirit of not fearing difficulties and daring to fight. The video quickly ended. The editor-in-chief closed his laptop and said to Louise, "This is the report you should be writing. City hero Lena Luthor will rebuild Metropolis and bring hope to the people." After hearing the editor-in-chief's words, Louise shook her head. City hero Lena Luthor? I don't know any Lena Luthor. I only know the true heroes are being forgotten. LexCorp, the president's office. Lena Luthor was at her desk, applying makeup when there was a knock on the office door. She quickly applied her eyeshadow, then leaned elegantly against her desk, saying softly, "Come in." A mercenary-looking man strode in with an ingratiating smile and placed a document on Lena's desk. "Miss Lena, this is the destroyer project your brother is researching. I've also sent you some videos of the experimental subjects," Mercenary Tate said with a smile. "I've seen the video in the email. It's truly incredible." Lena picked up the documents on the table and flipped through them. "Did the Avengers kill Lex?" "Yes, I tried my best to save Mr. Lex, but Miss Lena, those monsters weren't human at the time. They were demons. Only demons would be so cruel as to kill Mr. Lex," Tate quickly explained. Hearing this, Lena waved her hand in displeasure, signaling Tate to stop. "I'm not Lex. He deserved death. Ahem, I mean, he was unfortunate, but regarding the danger level of the Avengers and Superman, I need the technical department to reassess it." Lena closed the documents, her beautiful eyes fixed on Tate. The mercenary, who had always walked on the edge of life and death, felt a chill under her gaze. Yes. Miss Lena, do you have any other instructions?" Tate asked. "How many green meteorites are left?" Lena changed the subject. Tate answered truthfully, "We took everything out last time, but we still have 2 pieces of meteorite material in the lab, with a little green meteorite inside." "What about the destroyer's blood sample?" "It's mostly destroyed, only a little bit left." Lena stood up from her seat, treading on her high heels as she walked along the wall. She looked at an upside-down painting of a demon and an angel fighting, and said, "Transfer the meteorite material and blood sample. I thought you'd destroy them." Tate found it a little incredulous. Could it be that his new boss was seeking revenge against the Avengers? Lena smiled. "While I don't agree with Lex's approach, necessary precautions are necessary. After all, whether it's an angel or a demon is still uncertain." Town, woods behind the mountain. Clark flew in mid-air above the mountain top, scanning the forest below with his clairvoyant eyes. The meteorite that had fallen in the center of town had been largely cleared away, leaving only the sparsely populated area of forest where undiscovered meteorites could be found. "Diana, there's a large piece of kryptonite underground about 300 meters to your left," Clark revealed a location after discovering the kryptonite. Diana gave an OK sign and, with a shovel, easily unearthed the deeply buried meteorite as if digging sand. Then, with all her might, she punched it, shattering it to pieces. Inside, a large green meteorite emerged. It was kryptonite. "Leave it to you, Leah." Diana tossed the kryptonite toward Leah. Leah narrowed her eyes slightly, 2 blazing rays of light emanating from them, focusing on the piece of kryptonite. Crack, crack, bang. Under the intense heat of her heat vision, the kryptonite quickly shattered, crumbling to dust with a bang. "Well done. There seems to be no kryptonite left in this area. We've cleared out all the kryptonite in this town these past few days." Clark descended from the sky and joined Leah and Diana. "I've checked, too. The town's kryptonite is mostly gone. Besides my kryptonite sword, there's also a kryptonite necklace." Leah shrugged. Diana proudly waved her shovel and said, "I dug all of this up." "Is there a reward?" "Uncle James is on night duty tonight," Leah said, stroking Diana's head. Clark, standing by, covered his face with his hands and cursed with a look of despair. "You two. Can you please consider the feelings of single people? Leah rolled his eyes at Clark. Don't you like Lana? There's a practical activity class next week. Ask her out. If you like her, go ahead and confess. The last guy who followed my advice is now married and living a shameless and happy life, right? The more Leah spoke, the less confident he felt. After all, the guy he'd been following was struck by lightning and is still in the hospital. It was an accident. Chapter 54, Green Arrow Calls. It would have been fine if Lana hadn't been mentioned. Clark's face darkened at the mention of Lana. He sighed heavily and said, I went to see Lana the night I got back, but I found out she's Whitney's girlfriend. Whitney? The quarterback. Leah suddenly remembered that he'd once obtained Whitney's character card. This guy's skills were the king of white cards, a charm bonus, dating proficiency, sex proficiency, and a girl killer. Thanks to that card, Leah's emotional intelligence had improved significantly. Brother, don't worry. If things don't work out, we still have Chloe, the editor of your school magazine. She might be a bit aggressive, but she's your crush after all, Leah suggested seriously. Forget it. She's a reporter. We're not compatible, Clark reiterated his disinterest in casual sex. Having said that, Leah shrugged helplessly and turned to look at Diana, who was quietly listening to their conversation. Diana, to help you integrate into modern life more quickly, I've had my uncle help you with the transfer process. While it's a bit too old for you to attend high school at this age, you look no older than 18. So, how about a taste of high school life? If you dare mention my age again, I'll hit you, Diana protested, punching Leah in the chest. Leah gave her a sly smile. So, are you going or not? Diana raised her head and thought carefully. Of course I'll go. Staying home all day is boring anyway, and you don't let me run around. Clark, watching Leah and Diana's affectionate outburst, shook his head sadly. You guys chat? Sorry to bother you. Goodbye. And so, Diana temporarily followed Leah to the small-town high school. A few months passed, a period of relative peace and relative instability. Even General Zod, whom Clark had been missing, hadn't appeared. It was unknown if he had got lost in space or what. He hadn't appeared since. Of course, Leah didn't believe Zod wouldn't appear. Perhaps he was delayed, or perhaps for some other reason, but as long as the Codex of Life remained within Clark's body, Zod would surely descend upon Earth. It was only a matter of time. Diana, however, had already been able to adapt well to modern society during her time at the small-town high school. At the very least, she wouldn't blame a god of war for every incident. One peaceful afternoon, Leah and Diana, returning from school, were intimately cooking in the kitchen. Diana might be the princess of the Amazons. As a warrior race, the Amazons were not only proficient in combat techniques, but also in the art of preparing a wide variety of ingredients. In other words, by following them, even in the most hostile environments, they could find food as plentiful as a certain Bear Grylls show. Just as the two of them were cozying up to each other, debating whether to take up arms and master some challenging poses in the kitchen, Leah's phone rang at an inopportune moment. Hello, who's this? Leah answered with an annoyed look on her face. A deep male voice boomed from the other end of the line. Leah Rogers, you've let this city down. From this rather pretentious line, Leah instantly guessed who the caller was. Oliver Queen, you better have something to say to me, or I'll reach down the phone line and break your legs, Leah said, half-jokingly. Oliver seemed to sense that his call was inopportune, but he still said, something's going on. Remember that strengthening potion Miracuro I told you about last time? We've got some leads. Oh, have you found the mastermind? Leah's tone softened a bit. After all, he had accepted a card from Green Arrow and promised to provide assistance if needed. Oliver stood on the other end of the line. Maybe. I've tracked down the source of Miracuro. It's a congressman I know named Sebastian. But I don't think he's behind it. I've investigated him, and there's no way he could have produced a potent potion like Miracuro. Leah couldn't help but grumble inwardly. That Sebastian was just a pawn of Deathstroke. Besides that, Leah asked. He felt that just for that reason, Oliver shouldn't have called him so hastily. Besides that, Sebastian mobilized citizens to donate blood to gather enough plasma from Miracuro, along with a large amount of sedatives. Damn it. I never suspected him before, and now I've watched him accomplish all this right under my nose. In the United States, capitalists often form partnerships with key government officials. Therefore, Oliver Queen, CEO of the Quinn Group, and Congressman Sebastian had a very good relationship privately. So, when Sebastian made some small moves, Oliver didn't suspect him at all. So now he's assembled a massive army of augmented beings, Leah could probably guess. While Oliver's account of the situation differed slightly from his memories of his past life, the overall trajectory remained very similar. Oliver hummed softly, "Yes, we found the augmented beings base and expanded Green Arrow's team, but even so, I'm still not confident of defeating them. Leah, if possible, I'd rather face them alone. I don't want to put my friends in danger, so it's no big deal, just a few augmented beings. I'll ask for leave from school this afternoon and then come to your place," Leah said. Oliver was silent for a moment, then said gravely, "Thank you, Leah." After hanging up, Diana stared at Leah with a half-smile on her face, making Leah feel very embarrassed. "What's wrong? Do you want me to take you with me? I want to go, but Mavis's lecture on World War I is so fascinating, I don't want to miss it." Diana looked torn. Mavis was the history teacher at the small-town high school, and as an Amazon newly integrated into society, Diana's favorite class was undoubtedly her history lectures. Sometimes Leah really wondered if Diana was the illegitimate daughter of Zeus or Ares. "Have Clark take the notes, and you can review them when you get back," Leah suggested. "Well, okay, I'll listen to you." Diana nodded and continued to fiddle with her lunch. Leah rubbed her chin. What excuse could she use to ask for leave? How about, "Uncle James was injured in the line of duty and hospitalized, and I go take care of him"? That was a perfect excuse. After making the decision, Leah quickly sent a text message to her Uncle James, euphemistically calling it collusion. "Suddenly, I discovered that this book has won first place on the new author list on the Kitty and Chinese website. To celebrate, I'll update this weekend. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels." Chapter 55, Red Arrow. This time, Leah didn't fly directly to Star City. Instead, at Diana's insistence, the two took a train together. Leah wore his lead glasses and a loose-fitting sweatshirt, while Diana was also dressed casually, carrying a small backpack. At first glance, they looked like two young people on a trip. "Diana, what's in your bag?" Leah was why curious girls always carried bags. "My battle suit. But I didn't bring the Holy Shield or the Godslayer sword." "Weapons are not allowed on the train," Diana said matter-of-factly. Leah smiled helplessly. Other girls carried bags for cosmetics and other things, but he actually carried his battle suit. From her tone, it seemed that if the train wasn't prohibited, she would have brought a sword. He knew he couldn't treat Diana as an ordinary girl. After a few hours' journey, the two arrived in Star City. Oliver, knowing they were coming by train, had arranged for a driver to meet them at the train station exit. 20 minutes later, Leah and Diana appeared at the Green Arrow base. They'd expected no one inside in broad daylight, but surprisingly, every member of Team Arrow was present. "Did you come specially to greet me?" Leah asked Oliver with a smile. Felicity greeted Diana with a warm hug, and Oliver stepped forward to shake Leah's hand. Looked a far cry from the image of an Avenger. Another beautiful blonde present slowly stood up, her gaze flickering between Leah and Diana. Oliver introduced them. "Sarah, these are the two I told you about, Avenger Leah and Wonder Woman Diana." "Leah, Diana, this is my friend, Sarah the White Canary." Sarah smiled, reaching out and coquettishly pinching Leah's chest. "Wow, your muscles are so hard. Are you really like Oliver said, a man of steel? Are all Americans so playful?" Sarah flirted with her right in front of her ex-boyfriend, Oliver, who was staring at her with a smirk. Leah noticed Diana's vague gaze, and his overwhelming desire to survive made him quietly push Sarah's hand away. "Yes, I do have invulnerability." "Cool." Sarah, after acquainting herself with Leah, turned to Diana and gave her a seductive look, but Diana ignored her, looking bewildered. Diggle, clutching his ribs, stood up and offered Leah and Diana a strained smile. "Hi, we've met before. Do you remember me?" "Of course I do. By the way, Diggle, are you injured?" Leah lowered his glasses slightly and used his X-ray vision to scan Diggle, Oliver, and Sarah. He was surprised to find that all three were injured. Oliver's face was grave as he explained, "Yes, while pursuing a lead, We ran into some augmented beings. Aside from Leah and Diana, the others were ordinary humans. Their ability to escape the assault of augmented beings was already remarkable. They were injecting innocent people with Miraculous, and Oliver discovered his sister Thea's boyfriend was being injected with Miraculous, so we took action, Sarah explained with a shrug. Oliver's sister's boyfriend was none other than Red Arrow Roy Harper. Leah had some recollection of this episode, but he wasn't foolish enough to use his past life's memories to infer the course of this world. Actually, all you need to do is tell me where the enhanced humans' headquarters is. Then Diana and I will go over there and take down their lair, and all our problems will be solved, Leah suggested. Oliver smiled and shook his head. We might be able to find the real mastermind, Leah said. If I weren't afraid you wouldn't believe me. I'd tell you right away that the man behind all this is Slade Wells, nicknamed Deathstroke. After all, in Oliver's opinion, Slade Wells had died on Purgatory Island, and a dead man couldn't possibly be causing trouble. Deciphering an encrypted USB drive is child's play for Felicity, right? Leah felt that this kind of thing should be handled in minutes. Hearing this, Felicity lifted a USB flash drive with a missing corner from her study table. Of course, deciphering an encrypted USB flash drive is child's play, but the premise is that you haven't been shot by an arrow by someone. I didn't mean to do that. Oliver smiled awkwardly. He turned to Leah and Diana and said, let me arrange for you two to stay first. I've booked 2 presidential suites for you. It would have been fine if he hadn't mentioned 2 rooms. Leah would have been furious at the time. 2 fucking rooms? Oliver, are you really here to ask me for help? Oliver was completely stunned. Everyone around them nearly burst out laughing. Diggle came over, patted Oliver on the shoulder, and explained, didn't you realize Leah and Diana were a couple? Hearing Diggle's words, Oliver came to his senses and said, sorry, I didn't notice. It proved that Oliver's ability to seduce women was definitely based on his looks. Emotional intelligence was comparable to Leah's without the Whitney car. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done something so crazy as to hook up with 2 women at the same time. Not everyone possesses the legendary skills of a certain mayor who could have an affair without being discovered. That evening, Felicity took a break from her busy schedule and asked Diana to go shopping with her. For Diana, shopping was her favorite thing to do besides listening to war history. As for Leah, Oliver said he wanted to take him to meet someone, so they both donned vigilante uniforms and headed to an abandoned factory in the suburbs. A large boy in a red hoodie was already waiting inside. Upon seeing Oliver, he demanded in a gruff voice, Green Arrow, what did you call me here for? Although Leah didn't recognize the boy, he could guess that he was Roy Harper, Oliver's sister's boyfriend and the future Red Arrow, who had been injected with Miraculous. It seemed Roy didn't yet know the Green Arrow's true identity. Roy, I called you here to help you control your powers. The serum you injected has altered your body and distorted your will. If you leave it alone, you could harm those around you, Oliver grumbled. Chapter 56, Guiding Roy. Roy clearly refused to accept this. He glared at Oliver angrily, nonsense. Don't think you can talk nonsense just because you saved me, I'm not lying. A friend of mine was once injected with Miraculous, but the serum twisted his mind, turning him into an extremely dangerous lunatic. Roy, I heard you accidentally seriously injured someone. I don't think that was your intention. If you're willing, I can teach you how to control your power. Oliver tightened his bow and arrow and stepped towards Roy. A flicker of struggle flashed in Roy's eyes as he spoke of the innocent man he had severely injured, but it quickly vanished. He snorted coldly, do you understand my power? I could easily crush your neck right now. With that, Roy swung a punch at Oliver. Despite the incredible speed and immense force of the punch, Oliver easily dodged it. But the more Oliver dodged, avoiding direct confrontation, the more Roy's temper grew. His rage wasn't involuntary, but rather the result of Miraculous' influence on his mind. Are you a coward who only knows how to run away? Roy angrily threw a few more punches at Oliver, but Oliver deftly dodged them all. Then, out of the corner of his eye, Roy saw Leah, standing nearby, watching the show. He didn't dwell on Leah's presence, he simply felt he couldn't hit Oliver, so he wanted to take it out on Leah. Asshole, what are you laughing at? Roy stepped forward and punched Leah in the face. Seeing this, Oliver finally breathed a sigh of relief. Despite his effortless demeanor, Oliver wasn't as relaxed as he looked. Oliver was, after all, just a human being. One punch from Roy would likely mean he'd have to return to base to treat his broken bones tonight. With a thud, Roy's fist struck Leah's face like a rock hitting steel. The massive recoil sent Roy back a few steps, a look of disbelief on his face. "Who the hell are you?" Without waiting for Lee to introduce himself, Oliver challenged him. "He's the one who can knock you down." Many instructors believe the easiest way to get students to willingly learn was to beat them into submission. Oliver had taken plenty of beatings during his early days of archery and martial arts training, and it was only because he couldn't defeat Roy, who had been injected with Mirakuru, that he asked Lee to follow him. As expected, Roy's rage soared to the top when Oliver declared Lee the one who could knock him down. Under the influence of Mirakuru, Roy's mind lost its ability to reason. He didn't even consider why his punch hadn't even snapped the opponent's neck. He roared, "I can punch through walls and heal wounds incredibly quickly. What makes you think you can coach me?" Lee shook his head and turned to Oliver. "Can I beat this guy to death?" "No, considering he's been injected with Mirakuru, beat him half to death," Oliver said worriedly. Roy was a hyperhuman now, so even if he was beaten half to death, he could recover in 2 days. The next second, Roy's fist was in front of Lee. Lee extended a finger in front of him, touching Roy's fist. With a dull thud, Roy's unstoppable punch came to a halt. Before Roy could react, Lee backhanded him and slapped him in the face. Snap! Roy was flung forward by Lee like a basketball, flying over a dozen meters before crashing into the wall with a resounding thud. Boom! Several walls of the abandoned factory collapsed in a flurry. Oliver's teeth ached at the sight. Huh? Great strength? Strong recovery? I'll just laugh it off. Lee sensed that Roy's overall strength was inferior to the enhanced humans he and Diana had previously assaulted. Perhaps Roy had only been injected with Mirakuru recently, and the drug's full potential hadn't yet fully developed. Roar! Roy, completely enraged, burst from the shattered wall and lunged at Lee. Lee remained motionless, and just as Roy reached him, he struck him down with a punch. "I'll make you stronger, I'll make you heal faster, I'll make you howl." "Why howl? Did you get my permission?" Lee's blows landed with the force of 1,000 pounds, and Oliver, just watching, felt a chill in his spine. He seemed to be questioning whether bringing Lee here today had been the right decision. And so, Roy was pinned to the ground and beaten mercilessly by Lee. It wasn't that Roy didn't want to fight, but he simply didn't have the strength to do so. Every time he tried to struggle, Lee hammered him into the ground like a nail. By the end, Roy hadn't even had a chance to beg for mercy. Only Oliver, watching from the sidelines, could bear it no longer and warned Lee, "Well, that's enough, isn't it?" Lee finally stopped and looked Roy over. Every bone in his body was cracked. Only because he was an enhanced being, otherwise, these injuries alone would kill a normal person 8 or 10 times over. "Your name is Roy, right? I'm just asking, are you convinced? Can you control your emotions?" Lee lifted Roy up with one hand. Roy was bleeding from all 7 orifices, with a large swelling on one eye. He looked as miserable as could be, and Oliver was heartbroken. Because Lee had knocked out a tooth, Roy was not only gasping for air but also leaking air. Hearing this, Lee shook his head. "Fuck you. You can't even talk properly. You're obviously still not convinced." Before he could finish his words, he tackled him to the ground and beat him again. Roy was on the verge of tears, his heart shattered. "What do you mean by can't even talk properly? Have you ever seen someone half-dead speak clearly?" He wanted to argue, but under Lee's ruthless fist, Roy struggled to even utter a word. Oliver risked being accidentally injured by Lee and sent to the hospital, rushed forward to stop Lee, and said anxiously, "Stop, Lee, if you keep hitting him, he will die." Lee stopped, he looked at Roy lying on the ground half-dead and asked, "Okay, I'll give you another chance, are you convinced? Can you still control your emotions?" Roy on the ground wanted to answer Lee's words, but he found it very difficult to even say a word now. Chapter 57, I think he deserves a beating. Seeing Roy lying half-dead on the ground, silent, Lee sighed in frustration. "Oliver, don't say I won't help you. Look at him, he's not even saying a word. He's clearly still defiant." Oliver, standing by, was also overwhelmed. He thought, "You can't even see he's in this state, how can you say anything?" He was about to end this farce, but the next second, Roy suddenly sat up, as if in a moment of sudden enlightenment. He looked at Lee with a sincere face and shouted with all his strength, "Stop hitting me. I surrender. You can teach me whatever you want, just stop." With that, his eyes rolled up and he fainted. Oliver's mouth twitched wildly at Roy's desperate words. "Be fine, what about affecting the mind, what about changing a person? That's all nonsense. I think he deserves a beating. If he loses control of his emotions, disobeys discipline, or disobeys the organization's orders, just tell me directly and I'll beat him until he obeys. Oliver's forehead broke out in a cold sweat as he listened, but after careful consideration, it seemed to make sense, something he couldn't refute. They say Mercury can twist a person's mind and drive them insane. Look at Deathstroke. He still has some normal thinking, but his experiences on Purgatory Island have led to extreme thinking and behavior. To put it bluntly, he just wants to stir up trouble out of boredom. The augmented humans he created were no exception. After an initial period of destruction and madness, they eventually became a very obedient augmented army on behavior. As long as his willpower was strong enough, he could regain his rational thinking like a death knell. And what was the simplest and most direct way to train a person's strong willpower? That's right, just beat him up. If beating him once doesn't work, then beat him up twice. It would be best to leave some psychological trauma, so that the next time he was about to lose control of his emotions, he would subconsciously look up and look around, first to make sure that Leah was within 100 miles, and finally decide, how are you going to explain to the doctors if we take him to the hospital? He probably doesn't have a single bone intact, then we'll have to send him to your base. I remember you have emergency medical equipment there. Don't worry, Roy's a hyperhuman after all, he won't die. Leah lifted the unconscious Roy up. Okay, I'll text Diggle now and tell him to get ready. Oliver pulled his phone from his pocket and began typing away. Oliver, you haven't told Roy and Thea about your identity as Green Arrow yet, right? Leah suddenly asked. Hearing this question, Oliver paused typing. He frowned at Leah and shook his head. No, they don't know about my alter ego. I think you'd better tell them. Sometimes, hiding the truth isn't about protecting someone, it's about choosing to escape, Leah suggested. For many superheroes, their vigilante identity must remain secret, often even to those they love most. They call it protecting someone. Leah didn't judge whether this idea was right or wrong, but at least, not telling the other party about the potential danger does not guarantee the safety of the one you love most. Take Oliver for example, his current enemy Deathstroke knows the true identity of Green Arrow, so it won't be easy for him to kill Oliver's family. Thea and Oliver's mother, Moira, had no idea they were facing a deranged executioner, even with Deathstroke himself standing before them. After a moment's silence, Oliver nodded. You make sense. Roy's fine, but Thea, I need to think about it. Diggle texted me back. He's at the base, preparing emergency medical equipment. The next day, at Oliver's house, Roy stood before Lee, full of life. Lee was deeply impressed by the enhanced human's cockroach-like vitality. Wow, not bad. You took a beating from me and recovered so quickly. How is it going? Do you feel like you can control your emotions? Lee said, gently patting Roy's shoulder. Roy's shoulder was bent 60 degrees by Leah's slap. He stared at Leah with a look of horror, nodding hurriedly. Mr. Leah, I feel much better now. He now knew Leah and Oliver's identities, and had officially joined Team Arrow under the codename Red Arrow. That's a shame, I mean, it's great, Leah sighed with some regret. After all, these days, it's hard to find someone you can both trust and not easily kill. Oliver was dressed in a sharp suit, and behind him followed a short-haired girl. The girl was tall and well-dressed. Although she was only 17, she looked very graceful. Leah, Roy, what are you two talking about? Oliver saw Leah and Roy chatting, and he came over to check on them. The young woman behind him exchanged a passionate kiss with Roy before he replied, No, Mr. Leah and I are just getting to know each other. Oh, I forgot to introduce you, Thea. This is Mr. Leah. Thea, with a sweet expression on her face, politely extended her hand and gently shook Leah's. Hello, Mr. Leah, my name is Thea Quinn, Leah responded with a friendly smile, silently thinking, you should be Thea Merlin, right? Today was a party hosted by Oliver's mother, Moira Quinn. She had invited a number of high society elites, primarily to drum up votes for her mayoral campaign. However, Leah understood that Oliver already knew that Thea's biological father was the villain Malcolm Merlin, and his relationship with his mother had reached a freezing point. He had returned today purely for show, to give those so-called upper-class people a veneer of the Quinn family's love and affection. Time passed slowly, and several upper-class guests gradually arrived. Oliver's mother also came out to greet the guests, while Oliver walked past her with a blank expression. Although Thea's attention was all on Roy, she still felt that something was wrong between her brother and mother. She quickly stepped forward and asked, "Ollie, what happened between you and mother? I feel like you're deliberately avoiding her." At this time, almost the whole world knew that Thea's biological father was the villain Malcolm Merlin, and only the person involved was still in the dark. Oliver tried to force a smile. He was also hesitating whether to tell Thea the truth. After all, he felt that Leah's warning to him made sense. At this time, Oliver's cell phone rang. It was an urgent message from Felicity. The whereabouts of the enhanced people have been discovered. They are robbing Iron Mountain Prison. Chapter 58, Vigilantes Won't Kill People? Prison robbery? Such a breathtaking feat. Oliver was stunned upon seeing the message. I could understand robbing a bank or jewelry store, but what was the point of robbing a prison? However, Oliver quickly realized that enhanced humans wouldn't do anything pointless. If there was anything worth looting inside Iron Mountain Prison, it could only be the inmates serving time there. Prisoners, are they trying to expand their enhanced human army? Oliver pondered, only coming up with this plausible explanation. Thea, standing in front of him, grew impatient and urged, "What's going on between you and your mother? Are you hiding something from me?" "Sorry, Thea, something urgent has happened at the company, and I have to go." Oliver glanced at Roy and Leah. They both had a look of ready to go, just waiting for you. It was clear that they had also received Felicity's message. Thea was furious at her brother's perfunctory attitude. Frowning, she said angrily, "Ollie, don't try to fool me. I'm not a kid anymore. You must be hiding something from me." Oliver's mind was preoccupied with the augmented being's robbery of Iron Mountain Prison, especially the incident involving Mirakuru, which he considered his duty. "I'm so sorry, Thea, but I have to go." Oliver instinctively unbuttoned his suit and headed for the door without a backward glance. Diggle, who was guarding the door, understood his intention and immediately opened the door for Oliver and helped him get the car. Leah and Roy followed closely behind. As Roy passed Thea, he explained, "Don't worry, Thea, I'll keep an eye on your brother for you." With that, he quickly ran after him, leaving Thea bewildered. Diggle drove the car to the outskirts of the city. Leah quickly changed clothes inside the car. Iron Mountain Prison. "Felicity, can you hack into the Iron Mountain Prison security cameras? See how many people are on the other side?" Oliver, now dressed as Green Arrow, pressed the communicator in his ear and asked. "Give me 2 minutes," Felicity replied tersely. At this moment, Leah withdrew his gaze and addressed the group. "There are 10 augmented beings. The prison guards have been nearly wiped out. The augmented beings, divided into teams of 2, are tearing open the cages and releasing the prisoners. Many have escaped, but many more have chosen to follow them." Oliver then remembered that Leah had single-handedly defeated all the augmented beings, so they had more than enough men to defeat them. "Tell me how you can lose at Dragon Ride." Diggle, close the prison gates to prevent the prisoners from escaping during the chaos. Leah, Roy, and I will go in and defeat the augmented humans, everyone, to prevent the prisoners from escaping. Felicity, you still need to hack into Iron Mountain Prison's security system and close all exits. Oliver quickly gave the order, and sprang into action. Diggle quickly occupied the prison gate, pistol gripped tightly in his hand, his eyes fixed on the situation inside. Leah and the other 2 casually walked in. The door at the building's entrance had been violently torn down. The inside was in chaos, with guards lying everywhere. A series of hurried footsteps echoed, and Leah glanced up. 6 prisoners have escaped from the left staircase, and 13 from the right corridor. They're probably trying to escape during the chaos. Hearing this, Oliver and Roy immediately drew their bows and arrows, aiming in both directions. The next moment, a number of prisoners in prison uniforms rushed out, their eyes gleaming with the excitement of their impending freedom, and they screamed as they rushed towards the building's gates. "Back off, back to your cells." Oliver pulled his bowstring to full length, but the prisoners ignored his warning. "Get out of the way, you 3 freaks. I'll beat you to pulp." A burly white man ran first, his thirst for freedom driving him recklessly. Oliver and Roy simultaneously unleashed their sharp arrows. With a few whizzing sounds, several arrows flew out, sending several prisoners crashing to the ground. But more were pouring out from behind. Leah snorted coldly, slowly levitating into the air. His eyes suddenly turned crimson, and 2 parallel beams of blazing light streaked across, marking a dark line in the corridor. "Anyone who dares take a step forward will be killed." The prisoners paused at the sight. These were just ordinary people. seeing a hyper-enhanced human tearing down steel bars with his bare hands just a few minutes ago had already jarred their minds. Now they saw someone who could fly and shoot laser beams from his eyes. Was he a god? For a moment, the prisoners looked at each other in bewilderment, each seemingly apprehensive of Li Ya's power. One middle-aged man, unconvinced, addressed Li Ya and the other two with unwavering confidence. "You're vigilantes. I remember that vigilantes don't kill. I'm running away today. Do you think you can still kill me? Brothers, let's run together. Someone will eventually escape." The middle-aged man's words rekindled the prisoners' longing for freedom. Taking the lead, he was the first to step outside the boundary Li Ya had drawn with his thermal vision. Oliver and Roy drew their bows and arrows again, while Li Ya smiled and shook his head. "These Americans are so naive. Do you think vigilantes won't kill? They won't kill on their own, but if they accidentally injure someone, fists and feet have no eyes. If an accidental fatality results, then you'll have to blame yourself." A sizzle. Li Ya's eyes glowed crimson once more, and a crimson beam swept across, burning the legs of all the prisoners who stepped outside the boundary to ash. Suddenly, a stream of people fell like dumplings. He wailed in agony, and some of those with weaker resolves even fainted. "Go back, or die," Li Ya said in a deep voice. Before he finished speaking, the prisoners behind him woke up from their dreams, tumbling and crawling back, hiding in their cells, trembling. The hellish scene that happened today will become a nightmare for these prisoners for the rest of their lives. Oliver glared at Li Ya and said, "We don't kill people." "I didn't kill anyone." Li Ya pointed at the prisoners rolling on the ground and said, "In fact, they only lost their legs. I directly burned their wounds, so they won't bleed to death. Of course, if they die from the pain due to the serious injuries, you can't blame me." Chapter 59, Buddhist Law Enforcer. Roy sided with Li Ya on this point. "Oliver, we're shooting arrows to hurt them. They're criminals, trying to escape prison. No one will listen to us. I think Li Ya did a great job. He didn't kill them, but instead deprived them of the ability to continue their evil deeds." Roy's words softened Oliver's expression. "Combat inevitably involves casualties." He sighed and said, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't blame you, Li Ya, but what you did just now was a bit scary." With just a glance, the legs of 7 or 8 prisoners evaporated instantly. If Li Ya had looked even slightly higher, they would have been cut in half. The scene was pure hell. Ding. Friendship level raised to friendly. Unlocking Roy Harper's character card, the system's voice suddenly echoed in Li Ya's mind. He glanced at the system interface and saw, as expected, a character card for Roy, also known as Red Arrow. Like Oliver, Roy's character card was blue. Thanks to Mirakuru, Roy had reached the mid-elite level. The blue cards were barely usable, and like Oliver's character cards, they were all stuffed into the secondary card slots. Li Ya's strength improved slightly, but he then ignored them. "Oliver, you're too soft-hearted. Have you ever considered that if you don't kill some evildoers, they will indirectly kill even more innocent people? Someone who habitually commits evil and never repents is no longer human, but a beast." Li Ya's point was clear: some evildoers will never change for the better. If you don't kill them, they'll return to their evil ways at the first opportunity, harming countless innocent people. Those innocent people could have lived well, but it was the soft-heartedness of some that indirectly led to their deaths. Oliver clearly understood this, but he thought of his fallen friend Tommy and shook his head. Others' lives and deaths, can you guarantee you won't become a tyrant? Ultimately, the discussion came back to the question of inner light and darkness. Li Ya didn't want to argue, simply asking, "Have you heard of the Court of the Three Wise?" "The Court of the Three Wise," Oliver repeated, as if he had heard the term somewhere before. Without waiting for Oliver to think, Li Ya soared upward, declaring, "Leave the enhanced man to me, and the enhanced man's newly recruited prisoners to you." Before he could finish his words, the ceiling shattered, and Li Ya burst through the prison wall, flying towards the nearest enhanced man. Up ahead, an enhanced man wearing a black and orange mask was tearing apart the cage with his bare hands, shouting, "If you want to get out, follow me." Many prisoners rushed forward. Suddenly, the floor and walls collapsed, revealing a figure in a black cape and tights suspended in midair. His voice was icy, "None of you can escape. Those who don't want to die, get back." The prisoners' eyes flickered with hesitation as they watched. The enhanced man, seeing someone disrupting the situation, snorted coldly and charged at Li Ya, fist raised. "Boy, you're courting death." The augmented human leaped to his feet and punched Li Ya in the head. However, Just as he was about to reach Li Yang, his eyes suddenly turned crimson, and two laser-like rays burst out, instantly piercing the Li Yang. Closed his eyes, and the crimson quickly faded. Once his eyes returned to normal, he slowly opened them and scanned the crowd. Anyone else still refuses to accept, witnessing Li Yang's ability to kill an augmented human with a single glance. The prisoners scrambled back to their cells, fearing that if they were slow, they would be met with a fatal glare from Li Yang. After you're released, you'd better mend your ways. I'm not as easy to talk to as Green Arrow, understand? Li Yang floated through the air, his expression icy, a chill that sent a wave of fear down the spines of all the prisoners present. Understood, understood. I promise to reform and turn over a new leaf. I promise I'll never steal again, not in my lifetime. I'll definitely find a good job when I get out. I've been wrongly accused. Boss, get me out. I'll cry. Li Yang ignored these terrified people. Fact proved that Oliver's no-killing policy only gave the wicked a sense of security. You won't kill me, at most you'll be arrested, and at worst you'll be a hero again when you're released, truly making those inmates realize that evil doing carry a price, and then they'll moderate their behavior to some degree. How much they moderated was not Li Yang's concern. He wasn't a savior, he was the knife behind the savior's back. The remaining augmented humans were dealt with a single glance from Li Yang. Neither did they deliberately kill, nor did they deliberately avoid killing. Li Yang took this lightly. After all, once the heat of the moment wore off, life and death depended on the opponent's luck. As the saying goes, for a law enforcer, life and death are left to fate. Oliver and Roy were also doing well. After all, Roy was also an augmented human, and even facing the prisoner's siege was no problem. The only problem was that Roy's control was growing weaker during the fight. Under the influence of Mirakuru, he became frantic and dangerous. Bang! 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 Roy grabbed the burly prisoner and punched him in the face, leaving the poor prisoner bleeding and nearly passing out. Oliver, seeing this, shouted Roy's name and grabbed his arm, but Roy became even more frantic and flung him away. Just as the prisoner was about to be beaten to death by Roy, a deep voice with a hint of surprise suddenly rang out from behind them. Ouch, Roy, is he losing control? Hearing this voice, Roy, who had just been in a frenzy, suddenly shuddered. His body trembled violently and uncontrollably, and he suddenly woke up. Roy swallowed with a stiff neck. He looked at the prisoner who was beaten into a bloody mess, as if he saw his former self. A chill ran from his tailbone to the top of his head. No. Lost control? Who lost control? Ha. Losing control is impossible. I will never lose control in this life. Roy turned his head mechanically and forced a smile uglier than crying at Li Yang. It was obvious that Li Yang had beaten him psychologically. When he heard Li Yang's voice, he was terrified and incoherent. Thank you all for your rewards. This book is still number 1 on the newcomer's new book list, but the second place has the potential to catch up with me soon. I don't want to be Ed. Please collect and recommend the book list with 5-star reviews. 3 updates tomorrow. Chapter 60, Slade's Fury. That way, we can resolve the situation at Iron Mountain Prison before Diana and Sarah arrive. Li Yang felt a little unsatisfied. These enhanced were too weak. Oliver put away his bow and arrow and said, in fact, Diana and Sarah went to another prison. Felicity just said that the other 2 prisons in Star City were robbed by enhanced humans. Diana and Sarah went to another prison. There are 3 prisons in Star City? What about the remaining humans? Li Yang wondered if the security in Star City was so bad that there were actually 3 prisons. The last prison was breached and more than half of the prisoners were kidnapped. Felicity has been tracking the getaway car recently, but this time they're serious and have almost all of their enhanced humans. Oliver sighed, as if regretting why he didn't have the same superpowers as Li Yang. Let's go, the police will be here soon, let's get out. Hearing Oliver's tone, Li Yang felt truly sad deployed for him. In pursuit of vigilante status, Green Arrow abandoned his role as president of Quinn Enterprises to serve as a vigilante for the Star City Police. Unfortunately, this vigilante disrupted the city's original balance, earning him the hatred of the bad guys and the dislike of the police. Fortunately, Li Yang knew that with Oliver's in-depth communication with the Star City Police, they would eventually accept him. Of course, that's a story for another time. Wait, Oliver, I remember you saying Mirakuru had an antidote, Leah asked. Oliver thought for a moment. Mirakuru does have an antidote, but it's long been lost, and I never told you about it. Leah's mouth twitched at this, feeling incredibly awkward. You must be mistaken. I have an idea. I'll capture an enhanced human and take him to a cutting-edge technology lab. They'll help you research the antidote. At least with the antidote, you can handle the enhanced human on your own. In one version, Green Arrow defeated Deathstroke using Miraculous antidote. That's up to you. Also, Oliver stared at Leah sternly, saying, Avenger, please don't address me by name during this mission. Okay, Oliver, I understand, Leah agreed with a look of acknowledgement. Oliver. If he hadn't been unable to defeat Leah, Oliver would have seriously wanted to shoot this man dead right then and there. In a luxurious office in Star City, a man wearing a skull mask sat respectfully at his desk. We only managed to capture 400 prisoners this time. Based on the mortality rate of the Miraculous injection, we can expect about 30 to survive. Having been injected with a biochemical Miraculous, the chances of survival are essentially zero. Therefore, the skull-masked man received orders from those behind the scenes to conduct a prison break. Using the prisoner population to offset the mortality rate of the Miraculous injection, he aimed to expand the enhanced human army. The man in the executive chair was displeased with this number and why only so few? Did I ask you to rob 3 prisons? There should be at least 1 or 2,000. Of the 1 or 2,000 subjects, at least 100 would survive after being injected with Miraculous. Counting the existing augmented humans, the augmented army truly possessed the power to destroy a city. It was Green Arrow. They stopped Iron Mountain and Star City prisons, and we lost 15 soldiers, the man in the skull mask said weakly. Lost? Those were augmented humans he had painstakingly trained. The man in the executive chair flew into a rage. He slammed his hand on the desk in front of him, and with a loud bang, the luxurious, carved from sandalwood desk snapped in two. The man in the skull mask before him shuddered in fear and stepped back, not daring to meet his boss's gaze. Green Arrow? Are you kidding me? How could his team possibly have the strength to stand up to a dozen augmented humans? The man stepped directly over the shattered desk and approached the man in the skull mask. He was tall, and even in a suit, his explosive muscles were still visually stunning. His face was angular, and he wore an eye patch over his right eye. If Oliver were here, he would definitely recognize this man as Slade Wilson, nicknamed Deathstroke. 5 years ago, he and Oliver were stranded on Purgatory Island, and after being injected with a biochemical agent Miraculous, he managed to survive. Now he returned to Star City to seek revenge on Oliver. He vowed to kill the person Oliver loved most in memory of a girl. Faced with Slade's overwhelming presence, the skull-masked man lowered his head. He explained, Green Arrow has found help. 2 powerful vigilantes, seemingly also enhanced beings. The men we sent out are no match for them. Slade remained silent for a moment. He knew that even among enhanced beings, there were differences in power levels. For example, before Slade was injected with Miraculous, he was a young and famous assassin mercenary. To use the description in some novels, he was a top-tier soldier. After the Miraculous injection, after 5 years of cultivation, his strength had reached the pinnacle of the elite level, a step closer to hero status. The character's power level corresponds to the card level, powerful vigilante? Humph. Anyone who dares to disrupt my plan at this moment must die, Slade said solemnly. Sebastian, expedite the plan. I need to see my legion as soon as possible. The man in the skull mask summoned his courage. Mr. Slade, you'll make me mayor, right? You promised. Yes, I promised. This city will be reborn, and you'll be the greatest mayor of Star City. But right now, I need to see an old friend. Slade winked at a bodyguard at the door. The bodyguard understood and drove Slade's Lamborghini over. After resolving the prison break, Leah took a living specimen to a cutting-edge technology laboratory, while Oliver, Diggleroy, and the others returned to Green Arrow's base. Welcome back, warriors. Sarah was quite happy, clearly still reeling from tonight's battle. Diana glanced at Oliver and the others, bewildered, and asked, Where is Leah? Did he come back with you? Leah took a humanoid to a cutting-edge lab, asking them to help research an antidote and check on Barry, Oliver explained. Diggle was quite critical of today's actions. After all, he was the only one present, besides Felicity, who hadn't taken action. Thanks to Leah's deterrent effect, even getting the prisoners out of their cages would be more difficult than killing them, let alone escaping. That Miraculous. Can an antidote for Miraculous really be developed? Diggle angrily declared his presence. Oliver and Sarah exchanged a glance, both recalling memories of their time on Purgatory Island. Just then, Oliver's phone rang with a text message. Miraculous does have an antidote. I really hope the cutting-edge technology lab can develop it. Oh. Thea texted saying there's an emergency at home, so I have to go home first. 3 updates today, please vote. Chapter 61, Oliver's phone call. Thea, where are you? What happened? As soon as Oliver returned home, he anxiously searched the house for his sister. His mother, Moira, heard Oliver's frantic voice and rushed out from the living room to check on her. Asked me to come back immediately. Moira extended her hand, a gesture of calm, and said, nothing's wrong. I was just chatting with a friend. Thea wasn't even home. How could something have happened? Then why would she? Oliver said, suddenly understanding. At Moira's party, Thea had noticed a rift between her brother and her mother, and she wanted to use this opportunity to bring Oliver and Moira together for a face-to-face talk. She wanted us to sit down and talk because she sensed the tension, Oliver said. Moira asked nervously, what did you tell Thea? Did you tell her about her life? Of course not. I wanted to protect her, but now I feel like that's completely wrong. Oliver had been thinking about what Leah had said the past few days. Lies weren't the best solution. Unless they could keep it a secret from Thea forever, the moment the lie was revealed, their family's relationship would be torn apart. Mother, have you ever thought about confessing this to Thea? No. Absolutely not. I never want Thea to know that her father is. As Moira and Oliver were talking, a middle-aged man's voice suddenly rang out from the reception room. He asked, Mrs. Quinn, is something wrong? Hearing this, Moira's mother immediately put on a smile and smiled towards the reception room. No, my son is here to see me, Mr. Wilson. Before she could finish her words, a burly, middle-aged man in a suit appeared at the reception room door. The moment Oliver saw him, a storm surged within him. Especially since the middle-aged man's blindfolded right eye had been shot through by Oliver himself. His mother, Moira, didn't notice Oliver's anomaly. She enthusiastically introduced him. Oliver, this is Mr. Slade Wilson. After a brief moment of shock, Oliver calmed down and shook Slade's hand calmly. Then he asked, what are you doing here? This was already quite rude in a social setting. After all, the normal procedure was to flatter each other and say a few words of disingenuous admiration. Moira was very dissatisfied with her son's rude words. She reminded Oliver, Oliver, Mr. Wilson made a great contribution to my campaign. Oh, then he's really generous. Oliver stared at Slade with a puzzled look on his face. He would never believe that the man who vowed to destroy everything he had on Purgatory Island would have a change of heart 5 years later and become an honest and unscrupulous businessman. Slade stared at Oliver seriously. That's what I should do. Star City needs a pro-business mayor like Mrs. Quinn, one who advocates for urban expansion through investment. We were just discussing how to address the growing material needs of the populace and the need for workforce development. Moira touched Slade's sleeve gratefully. It's thanks to your investment that my plan has been successfully implemented, and it's earned me a lot of public support. Don't be polite, Mrs. Quinn. I sense a similarity between us. Slade looked at Oliver meaningfully and said slowly, we all know the pain of losing a loved one, and that pain becomes our strength, making us fearless. Moira swallowed his words like a bowl of chicken soup, but Oliver knew there was more to Slade's words. Oliver knew that even 5 years later, Slade still couldn't forget that girl, nor had he forgiven himself. He had vowed to destroy everything he had and kill the one he loved most. Now that Slade had appeared in Star City, all his doubts were made clear. It was from him that the miraculous story spread. Everything going on in Star City lately was his fault. Afterward, Slade casually sat on the living room sofa, chatting with Oliver's mother, Moira, about Star City's investment plans. Oliver listened on pins and needles, couldn't defeat him in a head-on fight. Furthermore, with his mother present, Oliver would be in a very passive position. Suddenly, an idea struck him. He pulled out his phone and called Felicity. He believed that with Felicity's intelligence, she would understand his hint. Beep, beep, beep. The call went on for a long time without any answer takeout. Felicity frowned as her phone continued to ring. Hey, didn't you hear my phone ringing? Why can't you answer it for me? Ollie called you. I don't want to answer it, Sarah said jealously. Diana shrugged. I'd answer it for you, but I don't know how to use your phone. Sorry. Felicity put down her takeout, and everyone gathered around like hungry tigers. But the phone continued to ring, and Felicity could only shake her head. Hey, no matter where I go, I'm destined to answer the phone. Hello? Oliver, what's wrong? Hello? Hello? Talk, why is no one talking? After calling hello several times, Felicity only heard someone talking, so she imagined the scene. Oliver must have sat down on the phone. With that, the phone hung up with a pop! Seeing the call end on the phone screen, Oliver almost cursed out loud. Felicity, where's your intelligence? Where's your high IQ? Why don't you understand what I mean? Isn't it obvious? I'm in trouble, Oliver sighed helplessly. After a moment's thought, he chose to call Sarah. After calling two people in quick succession, with no words exchanged, anyone should have realized something was amiss. Furthermore, Sarah recognized Slade's voice. As soon as she heard the call, she'd know she was in trouble. With this in mind, Oliver calmly called Sarah base. Sarah's phone rang. She was enjoying her takeout. Hearing the ringing, Sarah said to Roy, "Hey, young man, I'll give you a chance to show off. Go answer the phone for me." Reluctantly, Roy put down his food, wiped his greasy hands, and walked over to pick up Sarah's phone. It's Oliver again. "Hello, Oliver, what's up? We ordered takeout. Wanna come over?" "Hello times," Roy asked several times, but only the sound of other people chatting on the other end. He looked at everyone with a puzzled look on his face. I guess Oliver just moved a little. He's home, right? He can't have been kidnapped. Felicity forced an explanation. There will be another update in the evening. Please add it to your collection, book list, and recommendation votes. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62, Advanced Technology Laboratory. The moment Roy hung up, Oliver nearly burst into tears. Is there any other explanation besides thinking about me sitting on the phone? Like a killer, drugged with Mirakuru, sitting in my house discussing business with my mother? Who knows if he'll suddenly reach out and snap someone's neck? So, did he really have to call Leah? Leah was going to the cutting-edge lab as an ordinary person, so he wore glasses, styled his hair, and put on a smart suit before driving all the way there. And even if Leah realized he was in trouble, by the time he got here, Slade would probably have already killed his entire family. As Oliver was searching for Leah's phone, Slade suddenly stood up. His action was so sudden that Oliver almost thought Slade was finally going to kill his family. M.R.S. Quinn, Oliver, I have things to do. I won't bother you anymore. Slade straightened his clothes and was about to leave. Oliver was momentarily stunned. He couldn't understand why Slade suddenly showed up at his house just to talk to his mother about work. Had he truly let go of his hatred and become a capitalist profiteer? In reality, Slade had already achieved his goal. Since his initial visit, he had secretly installed micro-cameras in Oliver's home to monitor his family. Moira stood up with regret. Mr. Slade, won't you stay for dinner? I just hired a 5-star chef, and he's quite skilled. No, Mrs. Quinn, I'm sure we'll meet again. Slade flatly refused Moira's request, saying something suggestive. Well, Oliver, go see Mr. Slade off. Moira intended for her son to interact more with Slade. After all, in her eyes, Slade was a successful businessman, worth as much as the Quinn family. Acquaintance with such a person would be beneficial to Oliver's future career. If it were anyone else, Oliver would have been unwilling, but this man before him was Slade, a man sworn to revenge. Oliver felt compelled to find out what he was up to. As they walked side by side out of the mansion and headed towards the parking lot, where no one else was, Oliver laid it all out: the enhanced Cyrus Gold, the man in the skull mask, the prison break. You did all that, didn't you? In response to Oliver's questioning, Slade played it safe. Yes, I have allies, just like you do. He was referring to Leah and Diana. Oliver asked gravely, Slade, what exactly do you want? 5 years ago, I made a promise to you. Do you remember? I'm here to fulfill it. We'll see each other again soon. With that, Slade opened the door of his Porsche and sped away. Damn it, Oliver cursed, angrily calling Felicity again. Central City, a cutting-edge technology laboratory. Leah sent the augmented human here under Felicity's name, requesting the help of Caitlin Snow and Cisco Ramon, 2 scientists currently working at the lab, to research a cure for Mirakuru. Caitlin was a blonde, blue-eyed, Caucasian bioengineer, while Cisco was Asian, with long, well-shorn hair and a humorous demeanor. Since the explosion of a particle accelerator at Advanced Technology Labs, these two remain the only people working there, besides its founder, Harrison Wells. Barry was struck by a lightning bolt imbued with a special energy, and fell into a long coma. The hospital was helpless, but Harrison Wells, or perhaps Reverse Flash, sought out Barry's adoptive father and secured his permission to bring him to Advanced Technology Labs for treatment. Felicity visited Barry frequently during this time, becoming quite familiar with the staff there. After getting to know each other, Leah entered their lab and dumped the augmented human on the test bench, even though Caitlin only wanted to draw his blood. Cisco Ramon, standing nearby, also leaned over to take a look. "He's the enhanced man?" "Leah, sir, I don't think he looks like the guy you said he could break a wall with one punch." Caitlin couldn't believe it either, but when she thrust the syringe needle into the enhanced man's arm, she noticed it was bent. "Oh my god. His muscle density is terrifying. Even an ordinary needle can't penetrate." "Cisco, get me an industrial alloy needle." Cisco ran out excitedly and returned quickly. He handed Caitlin a box and looked at Leah expectantly. "If enhanced man are really as indestructible as you say, then wouldn't they be called Men of Steel?" Leah held his sword in his hand. He knew Cisco's personality was to give nicknames to people with superpowers, but the title of Man of Steel belonged to an alien who wore his underwear outside his underwear. Of course, he also possessed their abilities, so he would occasionally shamelessly call himself the Man of Steel, but if it were just those enhanced man, at best, they would be nothing more than a man of concrete. "Cisco, there are about 100 of these enhanced beings in Star City. Are you going actually? The leader already has a nickname, Deathstroke," Leah said mercilessly. Hearing that the other already had a nickname, and one that sounded better than his own, Cisco was devastated. He shook his head helplessly. "What a shame. By the way, how do you know so much about enhanced beings? You're not from the police. I heard it from Felicity." "Have you?" "Felicity works for Green Arrow, the vigilante in Star City," Leah said, speaking the words he had prepared long ago. Cisco suddenly realized that IT girl, she's not only beautiful, but also a top-notch hacker. Most importantly, she seems to be interested in Barry and often comes to see him every now and then. "Yeah, they're a good match," Leah sighed. If Barry hadn't had his childhood sweetheart, Iris, he might have ended up with Felicity. It was a classic example of someone who was clearly meant for each other, but always wanted what they couldn't have. Of course, as fate and the screenwriter arranged, they both got the love they wanted. As they chatted, Caitlin's preliminary test results came in. "It's incredible. This person's cells have undergone significant changes, which have directly led to a significant increase in muscle strength and healing ability. Can an antidote be developed to reverse these changes?" Leah asked. "Theoretically, yes, but I still have some mechanics to figure out, so it'll probably take some time." Caitlin's tone was filled with excitement. For scientists like them, discovering something new is a thrill. "Anyone?" The sound of an automated wheelchair moving was heard at the door. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound and saw a middle-aged man entering in a wheelchair. 3 more updates coming soon. Created a book club, 819,973,363. Chapter 63, Leah Emergency Pager. "This is Harrison, the founder of Advanced Technology Labs." As Caitlin was introducing Leah, Leah interrupted her. "Harrison Wells, I've read your autobiography, and I'm so happy to meet you in person today. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Leah Rogers." Harrison, in his wheelchair, extended his hand and politely shook it. Then, frowning, he asked, "Hello, Mr. Leah, have we met before? Your voice sounds familiar." "Of course we've met before, I've even punched you in the face," Leah muttered inwardly, praising the magic of Superman's glasses once again. Sure enough, after putting on Superman's glasses, even Harrison couldn't recognize him as the man who had beaten him up. Such was the power of the universe's will. "My voice is very common. If we had met before, I would have tweeted about it," Leah joked. This successfully dispelled Harrison's doubts. In his opinion, there was no way this ordinary-looking young man before him could be the mysterious figure he had encountered earlier when he transformed into Reverse Flash. Harrison asked the people on the test bench, and after learning about the information about the enhanced people in Star City, he showed a surprised expression. According to the memories of the previous life, they will be able to develop the antidote for Miraculous in a short time. Taking this opportunity, Leah went to see Barry. So far, Barry has not shown any signs of waking up. After all, according to the mainstream plot, after being struck by lightning, Barry will be in a coma for 9 months. After waking up after 9 months, he will become the man who always claims to be the fastest in the world. But in which aspect, it is unknown. Returning to the Green Arrow base from Central City, Leah saw Oliver sitting aside with a bitter and resentful look on his face, and an expression of "I don't want to talk to anyone" was written on his face. "What's wrong, Oliver? What happened?" Leah asked curiously. Sarah took the initiative to explain. "We finally know the mastermind behind the recent events in Star City. He's Oliver's former rival on Purgatory Island, Slade Wilson, nicknamed Deathstroke. Just a few hours ago, Slade broke into my house, and I called you twice. And none of you realized I was asking for help." Oliver was a little frantic. He wasn't really blaming Felicity and the others for hanging up on him, but in that situation, he almost thought Slade was going to kill him and his family. However, Slade was plotting a greater revenge. His goal was to lead an army of enhanced humans to destroy all of Star City, destroy the city Oliver had risked his life to protect, and his lover. Sarah sided with Felicity on this issue. She defended herself, saying, "Oliver, you can't get mad at us just because we hung up on you. If I'd heard Slade's voice, I'd definitely understand what you meant." "All right." Leah looked at Oliver sympathetically and said, "Since you're a key protected person now, I think you should set up an emergency call device so that if you're in danger, I or the team can be notified immediately." It was like Superman's future friend, everyone Jimmy Olsen's Superman emergency call device. Felicity hummed in agreement. "I agree. That's a good idea. Everyone's tired today. Go back and get some rest. Tomorrow I'll search the city for Slade and the enhanced core." After all, he couldn't have easily hidden himself after robbing so many people at once, Leah suggested. Hearing Leah's words, Oliver breathed a sigh of relief. It's best to resolve this matter tomorrow so that Slade never has the chance to hurt anyone again. Late that night, Slade donned his iconic mercenary uniform. He carried an alloy sword on his back, various weapons strapped to his body, and donned his half-black, half-orange mask. How many people survived this time? Slade, dressed as Deathstroke, walked through a remote factory. The factory was ostensibly a legal textile mill, but secretly, Slade had transformed it into a secret base for replicating the Miraculous Serum and creating enhanced humans. 36. Given the extremely high mortality rate associated with a Miraculous injection, 36 survivors was a very good number, but Slade still felt it was not enough. After the Miraculous injection, it'll take another 3 days for them to become enhanced warriors, but I can't wait that long. I went to Oliver's house today to install surveillance cameras and saw him. Do you know how much I wanted to break his neck? But I held myself back. I wanted to kill the people he loves most and destroy a city right before his eyes. 3 days? If possible, Slade wouldn't wait even a moment. Actually, you only need to wait a few hours. A sudden, deep male voice echoed from the factory. Slade's heart trembled. He instinctively drew his alloy sword from his back and looked in the direction of the voice. At the same time, Sebastian, wearing a skull mask, pulled a pistol from his chest, pointed it at the man in yellow, and pulled the trigger. Bang, bang, bang. What they were doing wasn't something they could keep secret, so their first instinct upon being discovered was to silence them. However, as bullets whizzed out, and just as Slade's sword was about to strike the man in yellow, a flash of lightning flashed before their eyes. The man in yellow vanished into thin air, and Slade nearly lost his balance as he slashed at the air. What's going on? Where's that guy? Where is he? Slade and Sebastian searched for the man in yellow when a burst of laughter echoed from behind them, mocking their slow reaction. I'm behind you, Mr. Deathstroke. It took a lot of effort to find you. Who are you, and what do you want with me? Slade held his sword in both hands, staring at the man in yellow warily. His single eye was filled with confusion, as if wondering how he could disappear so quickly and reappear behind them. The man in yellow opened his palm to Slade, revealing a bottle of blue potion. It doesn't matter who I am. I brought you a serum that can help your men absorb Miraculous quickly and become more destructive. Can't you wait to take revenge? Then go. P.S. Again, some readers thought in the previous chapters that Barry had not been struck by lightning and the Speed Force had not appeared, so Speed Reverse Flash lost his speed and thought there was a bug in this book. In the American TV series, Reverse Flash did lose the ability to draw power from the Speed Force, but But he still has tachyons. He just can't use the speed force to travel through time and space, but with the help of tachyons, he is still a speedster. In the second season of The Flash, Barry used the tachyon device to surpass Professor Zoom. I won't explain it here, book friend skirt. 819,973,363. Chapter 64, Cooperation between Reverse Flash and Deathstroke. Why should I trust you? Slade, masked as he was, could still sense the suspicion in his tone. No one could trust a stranger who suddenly appeared on their territory. The man in yellow sneered, his voice deep and muddy, because we have a common enemy. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Common enemy, Slade repeated, quickly thinking of Oliver Ally, a strange vigilante, the man in yellow said. Slade nodded in understanding. Indeed, Green Arrow's new ally has also disrupted my plans, but I don't think I need your help. That's because you don't know your opponent, the man in yellow flashed, transforming into a streak of red lightning that enveloped the entire factory. In an instant, a gust of wind swept through the factory, and the red lightning flashed by like a fleeting shadow. Sebastian, wearing a skull mask, was suddenly thrown back by the force, his body uncontrollably slamming into the far wall. Slade's heart trembled violently, a powerful sense of danger washing over him. Almost subconsciously, he swung his sword through the air. With a whoosh, red lightning appeared beneath Slade's sword, but it dodged in a strange arc, and the next second, it was behind Slade. Think you don't need help, the man in yellow said from behind. He released the alloy sword he had snatched from Slade, and it fell to the ground with a clang. Slade finally breathed a sigh of relief, slowly turning around and carefully examining the mysterious figure before him. What do you need me to do for you? The vigilante hired by Green Arrow possesses super speed, just like me, but he's not as fast as me. So I need you to hold him down and give me the chance to kill him, the man in yellow said bitterly. Coming from the future, he knew Green Arrow's true identity and was well aware that the Avenger Leo wasn't mentioned in history books. Reverse Flash was a man of few words, and he wouldn't tolerate threats. To successfully train the Flash and prevent any problems, he decided to eliminate Leah, the uncertainty. Although his brief encounter with Leah had allowed him to analyze his various attributes, for example, while not as fast as himself, he was stronger. He needed someone strong enough to hold him down so he could pierce Leah's heart with his rapidly trembling palm. However, despite all his calculations, Reverse Flash had never imagined that there existed a person in this world who, like Superman, possessed an invulnerable body of steel. Deal. Your target is the vigilante hired by Green Arrow, and mine is Green Arrow himself. We could definitely try to work together, Slade roughly guessed the situation from the man in yellow's description. Clearly, the man in yellow had fought Green Arrow's vigilante and lost, otherwise he wouldn't need an ally. The man in yellow handed Slade a blue potion and a pager. Inject this potion into your enhanced soldiers. Their bodies will quickly absorb Miraculou's properties. And this pager. If you encounter the vigilante, use it to contact me. I'll be there as quickly as possible. With that, the man in yellow suddenly vanished, transforming into a flash of red lightning and appearing in the distance. After the yellow-clad figure left, Sebastian limped over to Slade's side. What kind of monster is that? Can we trust him? Slade was silent for a moment, seemingly contemplating it. He handed the blue potion to Sebastian. Test it on a soldier first. If it's as he claims, inject it into the others. He didn't care about the lives of the prisoners, nor did he care about the after effects of forcibly absorbing Miraculou. As long as these enhanced humans could destroy the city, even if they were all dead the next day, Slade wouldn't frown. Okay, I'll arrange it right away. Sebastian put away the blue potion bottle. Once this potion is successful, immediately implement the plan. Let the army of enhanced humans destroy the city. Sebastian, you'll soon be the mayor of Star City. Slade painted a grand promise in front of Sebastian. Oliver, we've found the prisoners, but they're dead, bleeding from all four orifices, consistent with Miraculou injection symptoms, Leah said over the communicator. Damn it, Slade really doesn't care about these people's lives. But don't worry, those who've been injected with Miraculou need some time to absorb it. After all, Miraculou wasn't some magic pill, the biochemical serum needed time to fully transform the recipient's system. Oliver believed this was their chance to uncover Slade and completely thwart his scheme. Leah naturally understood Oliver's intentions. After all, according to certain memories from his past life, Slade would kidnap Oliver and his family during a press conference held by Oliver's mother, Moira, a few days before her mayoral campaign. He would then force Oliver to choose between his mother and his sister, with Slade personally killing one of them. However, Leah never took these memories seriously, treating them merely as a guide. Oliver, have Felicity hack into the traffic cameras and use facial recognition to locate Slade, Leah suggested. Before Oliver could reply, Felicity's voice rang through the communicator. I've already done that. Slade was last seen at a banquet in northern Star City yesterday, and he hasn't appeared on city surveillance since. Why don't we go capture that Sebastian? He's one of Slade's men. We should be able to get some useful information from him, Leah had almost forgotten about. This guy is also a pitiful person. Putting aside Sebastian's tragic life experience, he actually loves Star City and is determined to become the mayor of Star City and want to be a great man. There must be something hateful about pitiful people. Sebastian knew that Slade was a very dangerous guy. If he wanted to cooperate with such a person, it would be like courting disaster and he would die with regret. Sebastian hasn't appeared in a while, but he has a news interview in 2 hours, so he'll definitely be there on time. Oliver stated that he had always had accurate information about his opponent's movements. I have to go home for something. Leah, be careful. Sebastian is a public figure now, after all. Supplementary explanation of the setting. In this chapter, Reverse Flash is unaware of Leah's situation, which some readers have questioned. There are two types of timelines and futures, fixed futures and unfixed futures. If the future is fixed, then Leah's appearance will inevitably disrupt the future, resulting in the creation of a parallel universe that differs from the original. Obviously, this assumption is incorrect, as the future in American comics is unfixed. Why is the future unfixed in American comics? First, American comics themselves have an infinite number of parallel universes, from Earth 1 to Earth Infinity. Second, the existence of the Flash is the best example of an unfixed future. Everyone knows that the Flash created Flashpoint, rebooting the DC universe. If the future were fixed, then the Flash would only create another parallel universe, not alter the original one. Even in the American Flash TV series, the present may affect the future, so the future in American comics is unfixed. Having said all this, proving that the future is fluid, then conversely, Leah is a time traveler, changing the future of this parallel universe. Therefore, Reverse Flash cannot learn about a being that doesn't belong to this world through the future. So, readers who criticize the author for forcibly reducing Reverse Flash's intelligence should first consider other explanations when they encounter questions, and don't just criticize without thinking. I've created a group. If you have any questions about the setting, please ask them there. I explain always things this way in the book, which affects the reading experience of readers who understand these things. I will try to avoid this in the future. Queen. 819,973,363. I've created a group. 819,973,363. Readers who like this book can join. Chapter 65, Kidnapping Oliver. Oliver rushed home because he had received a text from his mother, Moira. It was just a few words, and Thea knew it. Oliver's first reaction was that Thea had learned her biological father was the villainous Malcolm Merlyn. It was like a hero who had always believed himself to be Chinese suddenly discovering he was actually Chinese. To Thea, if her father wasn't Robert Quinn but Malcolm Merlyn, then everything around her was fake. Secret crush, Tommy Merlyn, was actually her biological brother. Oliver quickly changed his clothes and drove home, repeatedly calling Moira and Thea to check on her. However, the calls never went through. Please, what's going on? Oliver pressed the replay button again. As the car was driving down a quiet lane, a heavy truck rammed into Oliver's car at full speed. Boom. Oliver's car was sent careening straight back, and the impact knocked him unconscious. The world seemed to spin, and Oliver's vision went dark before he passed out. An indeterminate moment passed before he heard someone calling his name. Oliver. 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 The voice was tinged with tears. He struggled to open his eyes, and as the dizziness gradually faded, he finally took in the scene before him smeared by tears. What the hell is going on? Their cries almost made Oliver think he was back on Inferno Island 5 years ago, where, just like now, he was faced with a choice he would regret for the rest of his life. Slade, standing behind Moira and Thea, saw that Oliver had woken up. He took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "For 5 years, I've dreamed almost every day of taking everything from you to get revenge. Today, Oliver, you will watch as the people you love most, along with this city, are destroyed by me. Slade, you bastard. Oliver glanced at his mother Moira and sister Thea with heartache. He struggled to stand and fight Slade to the death, but he found himself in excruciating pain all over his body, and he was tied up tightly. Seeing her brother in such a state, Thea cried even harder. What happened, Oliver? I want to go home. Slade ignored their cries and walked over to Oliver. He leaned over and looked at him with pity, asking, I've always wanted to know what your expression was when he pointed a gun at Shadow and took her away from me, you lunatic. Shadow is not yours, Oliver roared, glaring at Slade. Yes, Shadow was once yours, but when that man pointed a gun at Shadow and Sarah, you chose to let Sarah live and let Shadow be killed in vain. Slade's tone became increasingly cold, as if he was accusing of 5 years ago on Purgatory Island. Oliver and Slade both fell in love with a Chinese girl named Shadow, but Shadow chose Oliver. Later, they encountered danger. Slade was injected with Mirakuru and fell into coma, while Oliver, Sarah and Shadow were captured by the bad guys. The situation then was the same as now. The bad pointed guys' guns at Sarah and Shadow, forcing Oliver to choose one of them. That's not the case. I asked him to kill me, but I would rather be the crime one to die, Oliver roared angrily. What happened back then has always been a thorn in Oliver's heart. Shadow is dead. She's dead. I used to think I had experienced the most desperate thing in the world, until I met you, Oliver. I trusted you, and I thought you would protect Shadow, Slade questioned Oliver. Oliver's eyes were full of self-blame. He looked at Slade and said, then kill me. Kill me and avenge Shadow. Moira and Thea heard this, and their cries were filled with despair. No. Don't. Slade, why are you doing this? However, Slade's eyes were indifferent. He walked back behind Moira and Thea, took out a pistol from his arms, pointed at the two and said, Oliver, if I wanted to kill you, I would have done it long ago, but before killing you, I want you to choose, Moira or Thea. No. You dare to threaten my mother and sister, I swear I will kill you. Oliver looked at his mother and sister being pointed at with a gun, and his emotions instantly got out of control. Watching Oliver's uncontrolled emotions, Slade suddenly felt a surge of satisfaction. Wasn't this the moment he'd been planning all this time for? Let Oliver watch the people he loved most die, one after another, before his eyes. Let him watch his city reduced to ruins, powerless to do anything. Finally, die in endless regret and pain. Slade loaded his pistol, then pointed it back and forth between Moira and Thea's heads, demanding, Oliver, you have 1 minute to make a choice. If you don't choose one, I'll kill them both. Tell me now, who do you choose to live, Moira or Thea? Or do you want them both dead? Felicity had just installed for him that day. You're going to die, Slade. Leah, who was monitoring Sebastian's office in downtown Star City, suddenly felt his phone vibrate. He quickly pulled it out and saw an emergency distress signal from Oliver, along with his location. Good grief. I waited all this time for Sebastian, but now I've received Oliver's distress signal, Leah grumbled. Without a word, he removed his glasses, shed his tracksuit, revealing his Avengers uniform, and soared into the sky, flying at full speed towards Oliver. Slade repeatedly questioned Oliver, but with no response. His patience wore thin. I'll count to 10 if you don't make a choice. I'll have to kill them both. Oliver, can you really bear to watch them die before your eyes? Slade issued his final ultimatum. While he relished Oliver's helpless expression, he wanted even more to see Oliver's grief over the death of his loved ones. No. You can't kill Thea, and you can't hurt Oliver. If you want to kill someone, kill me. Moira slowly stood up. Although her body was shaking with fear, she would rather sacrifice herself for the sake of her 2 children. Thea, I'm really sorry. I concealed the truth about your biological father, but I hope you know that I love you and Oliver. I love you both. At this point, Moira's body stopped shaking, and she looked directly at Slade. Slade had a blank expression on his face. He slowly raised the gun and pointed it at Moira. Chapter 66, Do you have to bump into me? Ms. Moira, you are truly courageous, but it's a shame your courage wasn't passed on to your son, Slade finished, slowly pulling the trigger. With a bang, the bullet blasted out of the pistol, hurtling towards Moira's heart. No, Thea and Oliver screamed heartbreakingly beside them. At that moment, time seemed to slow to a crawl as the bullet sliced through the air, hurtling forward. Bang! A sonic boom descended from the sky, and a dark figure suddenly appeared in front of Moira. The bullet collided with the man's sturdy chest with a thud, like hitting a thick steel plate. What? You're the vigilante Oliver hired, Slade quickly realized. Although he only had one eye, he was, after all, a Miraculous-infused augmented being. He saw the bullet strike Leah and then bounce off. Bounce. 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 What the hell was going on? For a superhuman, a few bullets wouldn't be a problem, as long as they weren't shot on the head. Even Slade himself could mow down anyone with a semi-automatic rifle. But the problem was, he'd never seen anyone take a bullet without even a scratch, and instead have the bullet deflected. Avengers, thank God you're finally here, Oliver breathed a sigh of relief. If Leo hadn't arrived in time, he would have shared the fate of so many other protagonists. Moira, having survived the ordeal, felt her legs give out and she tumbled to the ground. Leah glanced back at the three of them and used her heat vision to burn through the ropes holding them. Thea, take Mother and leave. Oliver stood by Leah's side. If he had previously felt a tinge of guilt towards Slade, the fact that Slade had kidnapped his mother and sister had infuriated Oliver to the point of utter indignation. Ollie, ignore this lunatic. Let's leave it to the vigilantes. Let's get out of here together. Thea had experienced a turbulent day, and having survived, she refused to see her brother remain in danger. Thea, I'm sorry to tell you this under these circumstances. I am the Green Arrow, Oliver said gravely. Upon hearing this, Thea froze. Moira sighed, glanced at Oliver with concern, and was about to drag Thea away when a flash of red lightning suddenly appeared. The next moment, a mysterious figure in a yellow bodysuit appeared before Moira and Thea. They screamed in fear, and Oliver quickly stepped in front of them. Who are you? The figure in yellow was, of course, Reverse Flash. His gaze swept over Oliver and the other two before settling on Leah. He's here, Deathstroke. Come with me and kill him. Oliver and the other three won't get away, I promise, Reverse Flash confidently. Slade sheathed his pistol and drew his alloy sword. Alright, let's kill this guy first, then we'll deal with Oliver. Leah looked at Reverse Flash in surprise. Albert Swan, is it because you finished the shrinking ring I asked you to make for me that you sent it to me? Reverse Flash, hearing Leah address him by name again, cursed in frustration. I'm here to send you to see God. Before he could finish his words, Reverse Flash suddenly left his position. A whirlwind of red lightning surrounded Leah, encircling both Slade and Leah. Deathstroke, attack, Reverse Flash called out. According to Reverse Flash's calculations, Leah was over 10% slower than him, but his power was far superior. Therefore, Reverse Flash decided to use Deathstroke, the strongest augmented being, to hold Leah back, creating an opportunity for him to kill him in one fell swoop. Although Deathstroke Slade witnessed Leah's bulletproof defense, he had barely communicated with Reverse Flash, so he assumed Reverse Flash knew the man in black better than he did and was absolutely certain he could kill him. My men tell me you ruined my plan to rob Iron Mountain and Star City prisons. You deserve to die. Before he could finish his words, Slade suddenly charged forward, raising his alloy sword and slashing directly at Leah's head. Born a professional killer, his attack was not only unexpected but also skillfully utilized his power techniques. Combined with his enhanced physique, he swung the sword with such force that a sharp, piercing sound ripped through the air. Leah had no martial arts training, but with Wonder Woman and Green Arrow cards in his system's secondary card slot, he was already familiar with every fighting technique in the world. Facing Slade's fierce attack, Leah stepped forward with his right foot, slightly sidestepping Slade's attack. But Deathstroke Slade's first strike failed. He then slashed at Leah with his sword, then launched a barrage of attacks with his shoulders, elbows, and legs, unleashing a torrential downpour. This seemingly ordinary strike and impact packed immense force. A mere brush against an ordinary person would have broken bones and tendons, or even killed instantly. Leah didn't use his super speed, he wanted to use this opportunity to hone his fighting skills. However, he lacked a mastery of these techniques. After dodging several blows, Slade feinted and delivered a punch to his chest. However, Slade had forgotten that a bullet had struck Leah in the same spot just minutes before. Reverse Flash, surrounded by lightning, saw his eyes light up, sensing he had finally waited for his chance. Seizing the moment Slade's fist struck Leah's chest, he suddenly appeared behind Leah at breakneck speed, raised his right hand, and with a trembling movement, aimed a palm strike at the back of Leah's heart. Dang, dang, two sounds, like a powerful warrior striking a resounding bell, echoed. Leah stood still, while Slade and Reverse Flash were sent flying backwards, one after the other, like the ricocheting of a streaking football. Slade, after all, was a hyperhuman, so even though he was sent flying by the recoil of his own punch, he only felt a numbness in his wrist. Reverse Flash was not so lucky. While Reverse Flash's physical prowess far surpassed that of an average person, he was using his rapidly vibrating palm to pierce Leah's body. This was like driving a sports car at 180 miles per hour into Superman. However, Leah was also made of steel, and Reverse Flash's rapid vibrations were simply not at the right frequency. Instead of piercing Leah, he was sent flying by the recoil. Reverse Flash rolled on the ground in pain, clutching his drooping right hand. Based on the current condition, it was likely a comminuted fracture. Leah looked at the two people rolling on the ground and showed an embarrassed smile. I avoided your attacks, not because I was afraid of you, but because I didn't want to hurt you. Why don't you understand? And one by one you insisted on bumping into me, why bother? Chapter 67, Ringing the Death Knell. Reverse Flash felt a surge of frustration after hearing Leah's words. He gritted his teeth, stood up, and prepared to flee. But as he took a step, a fiery red light focused on his calf. A sizzling smell spread, and the excruciating pain in Reverse Flash's leg sent him stumbling to the ground. His wrist was shattered, and his calf muscles had been pierced by the heat vision. If he weren't a speedster, Reverse Flash's leg would have been completely destroyed. Albert Swan, if you dare move again without my order, I will condemn you to this era forever. Leah's eyes glowed red, radiating a scorching heat. He shifted his gaze from Reverse Flash to Slade. Deathstroke. Slade pulled an Uzi submachine gun from his leggings. Seeing Leah approaching, he immediately pulled the trigger. Ta-da-da. The Uzi, though compact, fired at an incredibly fast rate. A stream of bullets cascaded down towards Leah like mercury, a continuous stream. However, Leah completely ignored the Uzi's bullets, allowing them to pierce him. The sound was like firing into a solid wall. A few sparks flew, and then the bullets clattered to the ground. Only Oliver, having witnessed Leah's abilities, remained calm. Moira and Thea looked incredulous, as if their perspectives had been shaken. Ta-da, ta-da. Soon, the Uzi's ammunition was completely exhausted. Deathstroke Slade pulled the trigger a few times, but when he realized it was empty, he angrily threw the Uzi to the ground, drew his alloy sword, and with a roar, slashed at Leah. Leah remained calm, watching the sword descend upon him with a calm demeanor. With a sharp movement, the alloy sword flashed with a cold gleam, whistling as it struck Leah's neck. With a clang, the sword snapped in two. Wilson, you've let this city down, Leah declared. Oliver, standing beside him, pouted in disapproval, thinking, that's my line. Seeing his sword shattered in two, Deathstroke Slade was left with no other options but to swing his fist at Leah's face. Leah reached out, blocking Slade's fist and gently clenching it. Slade's screams were accompanied by the sound of bones cracking. He felt a terrifying force. No, I can't kill. Oliver, seeing his mother and sister safe and sound beside him, felt his hatred for Slade fade. Leah shook his head in disappointment. This time, I arrived in time and your relatives were not hurt, but I can't guarantee that he will give you the chance to notify me next time. When Slade heard that Oliver didn't kill him, he sneered. Oliver, you are still so cowardly. Let me tell you, my army is ready to destroy this city. Maybe you saved Oliver's relatives, but it is too late for you to save this city. Facts have proved that Deathstroke Slade is an inhuman madman. Oliver, I can understand your principle of not killing, but some people have lost their humanity. If because of your kindness, Slade has the opportunity to retaliate against you and kills your mother, sister, and your lover, then who should be responsible for their deaths? After hearing this, Oliver held Moira and Thea's hands tightly, and after a moment of silence, he replied, if this really happens, then I should be responsible for their deaths? Yes, Oliver, remember the three wise courts I told you about? Leah's eyes turned red again, his gaze fell on Slade, and a terrible high temperature was brewing. The three wise courts are composed of three artificial intelligences that are familiar with all laws. They will judge the crimes of criminals absolutely fairly and evaluate whether the criminals have the possibility of repentance and whether they will continue to commit crimes. I have the idea of forming the three wise courts on Earth, but this criminal will not be able to wait for the trial of the three wise courts. As the words fell, two parallel beams of blazing light descended upon Slade. Even his fortified frame couldn't withstand the intense heat, and in an instant, everything within sight was reduced to ash. This time, Slade didn't even utter a scream as his entire body crumbled to ash. Yet, those present could hear a wailing from within. Especially the one who had huddled aside, trying to minimize his presence, desperately praying that Leah could forget about him. Upon witnessing the scene, his heart trembled wildly, his entire body feeling as if it were being submerged in icy water. "Avenger, you can't just kill him like this." Oliver's voice trembled, and his heart trembled as he met Leah's crimson eyes. "When the tribunal of the three wise men is established, I will be the first to be judged. If I'm guilty, I'm willing to accept any punishment." Leah remained confident. After all, he was the creator of the artificial intelligence. Oliver breathed a sigh of relief after hearing Leah's words. He knew full well that American law couldn't bring many criminals to justice, and that vigilantes' insistence on not killing only emboldened these criminals. If, as Leah claimed, there truly was a completely fair court, Oliver would undoubtedly support it wholeheartedly. Moira and Thea, though horrified, were nonetheless applauded Leah's actions. After all, just minutes earlier, Slade had not only kidnapped them but also forced Oliver to save one and kill another. It was sheer madness. "Avengers, Star City is in danger. Take me back." Slade was already dead, and Oliver didn't want to dwell on the matter. He simply wanted to return to Star City and stop Slade's army of enhanced humans from destroying it. "Don't worry, Wonder Woman is here. Star City will be safe," Leah reassured Oliver, then turned to Reverse Flash, who was standing nearby. Reverse Flash instinctively shrank back under Leah's gaze. His kevs had been burned through by his heat vision, making escape impossible. "Albert Swan, give me a reason not to kill you, otherwise, you can only go to hell with Slade." When Leah said this, his eyes emitted a terrifying temperature. "I can help you make a battle suit ring." Reverse Flash didn't dare to look into Leah's eyes. He raised his hand, fearing that the two scorching rays would burn him to ashes. "It seems that you haven't made it for me yet. Besides, who knows if you will do anything with the ring." Leah took a step forward. The scorching temperature in the air made Reverse Flash stutter. Don't kill me. I can listen to you, become your subordinate, and never betray you." Chapter 68, System Upgrade. Reverse Flash, though reluctant, couldn't think of any offer that would persuade Leah not to kill him. Wealth? Leah could break into any bank in the world unnoticed. Power and status were out of the question. Reverse Flash couldn't help him there. Especially after witnessing how Leah killed Slade, Reverse Flash knew Leah wouldn't show any mercy. If he said he was going to kill him, he would. Who wants to die when they can live? So, Reverse Flash offered to become Leah's subordinate, forever obeying his orders. If that didn't stop Leah from killing him, then he'd have to fight one last time before dying. Even if this era's Reverse Flash died, the Reverse Flashes of other eras would still exist, but none of that mattered to this era's Reverse Flash. Reverse Flashes from different eras were the same person, yet different. As the saying goes, if one eye falls, thousands more will rise behind him, but the eye that represented himself has already fallen. Ling. Friendship Value, Expansion. The system is about to upgrade, unlocking expansion content, slave cards, Ling. Congratulations to the host for obtaining their first slave card, Reverse Flash, Albert Swan, Purple Hero card. After the system upgrade is complete, the host will be able to control the life and death of their slaves at any time, and gain an additional extended skill. Estimated system upgrade time: 24 hours. The system's voice suddenly resonated in his mind, and Leah was slightly taken aback, thinking, this crappy system is still upgrading. Then Leah quickly checked. Even though the system was upgrading, equipped character cards like Superman cards would still function. It was just that character cards couldn't be replaced during the upgrade. This meant that Leah still possessed Superman's powers, but the cards couldn't be replaced. Therefore, he needed to stay away from Kryptonite during this period. Reverse Flash, seeing Leah's silence, became anxious. Everything I did was simply to ensure I could return to my own time. I truly have no intention of opposing you. Please forgive my sins. After the system upgrade, being able to control the life and death of others at any time sounded great. Furthermore, with the system's assessment, Leah could read Reverse Flash's inner state. If he ever thought of betraying him, he could end Reverse Flash's life at any time. Then I'll trust you this once, Albert Swan. You only have this one chance. If you dare betray me, even if you have the slightest thought of doing so, I will erase you from the entire timeline. The latter half of this was Leah's threat, but it was truly effective. Reverse Flash nodded hurriedly. No, don't worry. May I know your name? My name is Avenger. As for my identity, with the system in place, Liu wasn't worried about Reverse Flash revealing his own, so he said, we just met yesterday, so you are, no wonder, Master Avenger. Reverse Flash suddenly understood everything. Unsure whether the others knew Liu's identity, he didn't address him by name. Master means both master and sir. Generally, female slaves feel more comfortable calling them master. As for male slaves, it's better to call them sir. Who will be the first female slave? Liu had waved her hand and turned to look at Oliver. I'm going to Star City now. Slade's car is not far away. Do you want to take Moira and Thea back? Oliver obviously wanted to take his mother and sister back in person. But Moira shook her head. Oliver, you and this Mr. Avenger go. I can drive myself. Okay, Mom. Thea, Star City is not safe now. You can go to Central City to hide for a day and come back tomorrow, Oliver suggested. Reverse Flash on the side waved his hand quickly. If you go to Central City, can you take me with you? I'm seriously injured now and can't go back by myself. As soon as these words came out, the eyes of several people present all fell on Reverse Flash, which made his scalp numb. Oliver pointed at Reverse Flash and asked Lee, can I trust him? I don't know. He's a ruthless killer. He might be smarter than Slade, but who knows if he's got some sinister plan. Reverse Flash nearly spat out blood upon hearing this. He was a ruthless killer, but so far, Reverse Flash rarely killed innocent people. Even in the later timelines, when Reverse Flash transformed into Harrison Wells, anyone he killed was someone who could potentially disrupt his plans or harm Barry Allen, rarely harming innocent people. For a long time, Reverse Flash even took on the role of a mentor to the Flash. Simply put, Reverse Flash is a villain, but a principled one. Overwhelmed with sympathy, Thea stepped forward and said, he's already in this state, he shouldn't be a threat to us, and he never intended to hurt us in the first place. Oliver sighed, alright, I'll trust him this once. Avengers, let's go. And so, Moira and Thea drove Slade's car, taking the severely injured Reverse Flash with them to Central City for shelter, while Leah grabbed Oliver and flew towards Star City. In Star City, went about their daily lives as usual. Some went to work, everyone went shopping, and everyone peacefully went about their daily lives. Suddenly, in many corners of Star City, strange individuals suddenly donned masks that were half black, half orange. As if prearranged, they suddenly erupted at the same moment, using pre-prepared explosives and firearms to attack the people around them, causing chaos and panic. Then, they pulled out their submachine guns and indiscriminately opened fire. Countless people were injured, and flames and blood instantly engulfed the peaceful city. Panic spread like a plague. People ran about like headless flies. Chief Lance had a vague idea that many terrorists had suddenly appeared in Star City and were causing chaos throughout the city. Immediately notify all officers to gather, including those on leave. We must act immediately, or this city will be destroyed. As Chief Lance gave the order, a recently captured criminal suddenly broke free from his handcuffs. He, too, donned a black and orange mask and, with his bare hands, broke the necks of two officers standing beside him. Everyone, ad skirt. 819,973,363. Also, please vote for recommendation. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69, Star City Crisis. What did you do? Every officer in the Star City Police Department, including Sergeant Lance, witnessed the scene. They watched the newly apprehended criminal murder two officers. Bastard, Sergeant Lance was the first to draw his service pistol, pulling the trigger at the masked criminal. American police have the right to kill highly dangerous individuals while performing their duties. And a criminal who had broken two officers with his bare hands was clearly justifiable. Bang! 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 Sergeant Lance fired 3 times, hitting the criminal in the chest and shoulder. However, the bullets pierced his body like a concrete wall, causing no significant damage. Instead, the pain sent the enhanced criminal into a frenzy of rage. Roar, he roared, charging towards Officer Lance, knocking him to the ground with a single punch and snatching his service pistol from his hand. Inside the police station, all the officers opened fire, but the augmented being rolled to avoid most of the bullets. then returned fire with one hand. After a series of gunfights, the Star City Police Department paid a heavy price to kill the augmented being with a headshot. "Captain Lance, are you okay?" The deputy arrived just in time and helped Chief Lance to his feet. "God, what kind of monster is this guy?" "Whatever monster he is, Star City is full of them wreaking havoc. They're our enemies. We should call in the armed guard." Chief Lance's mind was filled with the image of the criminal who had just tore through the entire police station. Their firepower was no match for these. "But only the mayor has the authority to deploy the armed guard, and we haven't elected a new mayor yet." "Even without a mayor, the police chief can still mobilize the armed guard in an emergency," Officer Lance said. Unfortunately, the chief was attacked by thugs while rushing to the scene not long ago and tragically died in the line of duty, a nearby officer said with regret. Upon hearing the devastating news, Sheriff Lance slapped his hands on his forehead in despair. He augmented sighed. "In this case, we still have one option. Only the masked man can defeat the masked man." "You mean, the vigilante?" "I prefer to call him the Green Arrow." "Diana, Sarah, there are 3 augmented beings at the intersection of 2nd and Kingsley Streets, along with a large number of civilians who haven't evacuated yet," Felicity typed rapidly on her keyboard. She had hacked into Star City's surveillance network at the outset of the riots, gaining a complete overview of the entire city. "Roger, I can see those augmented beings." Diana, perched on Sarah's motorcycle, spotted the augmented beings from a distance. She suddenly leaped from the bike, leaping over 30 meters before landing directly in front of them. These augmented beings were causing chaos, leaving civilians severely injured or even dead everywhere. Diana was filled with fury at the sight. In her opinion, even the worst villain, Ares, wouldn't attack unarmed civilians. "I won't allow you to hurt anyone again." Diana's words trailed off as she lunged forward. A sonic boom echoed, and she appeared before one of the augmented beings. She delivered a powerful punch to the abdomen, cracking ribs as the augmented being flung flying, crashing into a wall. Diana's presence gave the surrounding civilians a glimmer of hope. The other 2 augmented beings, observing this, raised their submachine guns and fired at Diana. Undeterred by the barrage of bullets, Diana raised her hands to deflect the Diana. Felicity just contacted Advanced Technology Labs. The antidote from Miracura will be delivered to Star City soon. DeGaulle and Roy are already there to get it. Sarah cleared the crowd. She looked at the man lying unconscious after being beaten unconscious by Diana, seemingly contemplating Oliver's principle of not killing. "What about these 3? They can't be called human anymore. They're inhuman monsters." Diana was still reveling in the sight of the augmented human slaughtering and causing panic among the civilians. She felt the need to address the dead and wounded around her. "I don't think they were human either." "How about, kill them?" Sarah excitedly drew a dagger. Diana nodded. "I'll do it." Sarah handed the dagger to Diana, then hooked her finger under her chin and gave her a glare. "Good girl." Meanwhile, the television news was flooded with coverage of the augmented humans attacking Star City, with many reporters even broadcasting live footage of the augmented humans committing crimes in the streets. Inside the police station, Sheriff Lance had specially brought his eldest daughter, Laurel, back to the station. After all, compared to the outside world, the Star City police station was relatively safe. "Sheriff Lance, look at this." An officer pointed to a live TV on the wall, where several officers gathered to watch. Sheriff Lance looked at the TV, which was broadcasting a news report. Our reporter has discovered that an armed military force has arrived in the outskirts of Star City to restore order. We must trust the government. The terrorists will eventually be punished." Sheriff Lance breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing this. The armed forces have finally arrived. Maybe. "Why do you think it's maybe?" Sheriff Lance looked at the deputy, puzzled. "Look on TV, they're taking over the bridges and tunnels." Hearing the deputy's words, Sergeant Lance quickly realized, that's the only way in and out of Star City. They're not trying to come in, they're trying to blockade Star City. "But, aren't they the military?" Sergeant Lance, a friend of mine who works in military intelligence, told me the nearest military base is 300 miles away. "There's no way they'd show up so early," the black deputy explained. Sergeant Lance frowned. "Then who are they? Can we find out which military unit they're affiliated with?" "No, Sergeant Lance. Even the director's authority can't access information about these military units." The black deputy shook his head. "Please add this to your collection, book list, and recommendation." Unrelated text follows. 819,973,363. Chapter 70, Sky Eye Meeting. As Leah and Oliver flew over Star City, they spotted the military blocking the bridge. Fuck, what are they trying to do? Oliver cursed the moment he saw them. What's wrong, Oliver? Leah asked. Oliver nodded. The troops blocking the bridge are part of the Joint Superpower Investigation Team. Shouldn't they be going to Star City to rescue them now? To the President of the United States. Leah recalled memories from his past life. Although over a decade had passed, he could still recall some of the plot, especially Amanda Waller from a certain version of the Eye, a peculiar figure with a clear mind and aloofness. Clearly, someone's up to something, Leah said with a smile. The two quickly returned to Green Arrow's base. Oliver breathed a sigh of relief when he learned that Diggle and Roy had taken the antidote to Mirakuru and were Diana joining and Sarah to fight the Legion of Enhanced Humans. He picked up the phone and dialed a number. The phone rang for a long time before it was connected. A very female voice came from the other end of the line. Where did you know this number? Oliver thought to himself, my bodyguard's wife is your agent, so it shouldn't be easy for her to get your number. But now is not the time to talk about this. Oliver asked sharply, Amanda, what are you doing? Why did you send people to occupy the exit of Star City? Amanda Waller is the highest-ranking person in charge of the Sky Eye Society today. Naturally, the order to blockade Star City was also issued by her. Seeing her troops' deception exposed by Oliver, Amanda didn't play dumb. Slade's followers are too dangerous. I can't let them escape Star City. I will contain them at all costs. Oliver was furious. Eliminate them, they're too scattered. I don't have enough manpower. I already have a drone carrying 6 GBU/43B bombs. It has enough firepower to raise Star City to the ground, Amanda spoke calmly, as if she were talking about a truck carrying a load of fireworks. Oliver was bewildered. What kind of logic was this? You have no one under your command, and you're worried about the augmented humans escaping Star City, so you're going to blow up the entire city? It's like someone cuts their finger and gets infected, and the doctor has to saw off their entire arm. Their IQ is truly impressive. There are still over 1.5 million civilians in Star City, 1,576,000 in total, all innocent. But I have to consider the people in other cities too. You said those injected with Mirakuru would become indestructible. If I can't put an end to this immediately, it's a threat to America and the entire world, Amanda interrupted Oliver. Does President O'Glenn know you're doing this? Amanda, you're committing massacre. You'll be court-martialed. Oliver had never encountered such brazenness. Clearly, their own abilities were limited, unable to deal with the threat of the augmented legions, yet they kept saying they were concerned for America and the world. Amanda laughed. No, I won't be court-martialed. These missiles were launched from Slade's equipment depot. The person who should be court-martialed, Felicity, did you record this? Leah asked, watching Felicity's computer monitoring Oliver's call. Of course, I've been recording everything since the second sentence. So, Leah, what are you going to do? Are you going to call President Aogwanhe and expose her? Felicity downloaded the recording onto a recorder and handed it to Leah. Leah shrugged. Exposing her directly would be pointless. I hear these special departments have a ton of funding, and they're just tycoons with lots of money. It would be unfair to the people of Star City if I didn't extort a lot of money. Oliver hung up and gave Leah a look. Let's not worry about Amanda for now. Leah, can you handle the missiles? Okay, I'll handle the missiles, and you go support Roy. When I came here just now, he seemed to be losing control again. By the way, do you want to record my voice? Leah asked seriously. Oliver was a little surprised that Roy hadn't injected him with the antidote from Mirakuru, but then he thought, with Leah around, who needed the antidote? A fist was the best antidote. No need. This kid's been traumatized by your beating. If I see him again, just point to the sky and say you're here, and he'll snap out of it, Oliver said confidently. Felicity, standing by, tried to suppress a smile. Why do you all make me feel so sorry for Roy? But I want to laugh, but can I? Oliver shook his head helplessly. After changing into his Green Arrow suit, he headed straight for Roy. Leah came outside and glanced up at the sky. From afar, he spotted a drone laden with explosives. Boom. There was a sonic boom, and Leah soared into the sky, heading straight for the drone. He flew right up to the drone and forcibly redirected its course. Leah followed closely behind, using brute force to propel it up to a height of 10,000 meters, then remotely detonated it with thermal vision. Rumble. 6 GBU/43B bombs suddenly exploded, their fiery shockwaves dyeing the sky red. Leah's figure was engulfed in the flames. A moment later, a dark figure darted out from the wave of flames, hurtling towards Star City. At the command center of the Joint Superpower Investigation Team, a technician watched the drone detonate on the screen and reported in horror, "Captain Amanda, the drone's been destroyed." Possible. Amanda's face suddenly turned pale with rage, and she shouted, "Who did it? Was it Oliver Queen?" "No, it was someone in black." The technician brought up the drone footage and projected it onto the large screen in the command room. On the screen, a figure appeared in front of the drone at breakneck speed. With a single swing of his hand, he forcibly changed the drone's flight path and propelled it all the way to an altitude of 10,000 meters. "Oh my God, this person, who is he?" Amanda stared at the screen, her brows furrowed involuntarily. The next second, the drone exploded, and the image on the screen froze at that moment. 5 minutes, I want all the information on this person. Amanda folded her arms in front of her and ordered her technicians. P.S. This chapter has been edited to make sense based on the plot of a related American drama. Moralists, please don't worry about whether the government will harm civilians, and don't make it too serious. Chapter 71, Come to the Door. After dealing with the bomb threat, Leah joined the battle, crushing the augmented army. The remaining police officers in Star City also mobilized, providing the vigilantes with maximum assistance in eliminating the remaining augmented individuals. This marked the first collaboration between the police and the vigilantes, and the first step in their recognition of the vigilantes. "Felicity, search the city again to see if there are any more augmented individuals," Oliver said, pressing the communicator to his ear up the city's surveillance footage. After inputting a special algorithm, the computer automatically filtered all the footage. The last augmented individual in the city is right behind you," Felicity said seriously. "I'm not losing control. I'm conscious." "Don't call Leah." So the last augmented individual Felicity was referring to was Roy. Oliver finally breathed a sigh of relief, but seeing Roy's pitiful face, he suddenly felt like laughing. He wouldn't get beaten for laughing, would he? "Roy, I was just kidding," Oliver smiled, sheathing his bow. Roy wiped the sweat from his forehead. "That's not funny at all. Oliver, do you have any more antidote for Miraculous? Would you like to give me a shot?" Well, the kid would rather not have this power than be beaten by Leah a second time. "Why do I feel like you can control your emotions?" Oliver patted Roy's shoulder. "Power isn't inherently good or bad, it's how you use it that matters. Just like Miraculous, if you can use it to help others, I don't think you need an antidote." "Thank you." Roy was deeply moved by Oliver's words. Elsewhere, Leah found Diana, who was chatting animatedly with Sarah. "Diana, now that things are settled here, when are you planning on going back?" "Tonight, actually, tonight I'm planning on eating with Sarah," Diana smiled, looking at Sarah. "That's right, I'll take care of Diana, don't worry." Sarah took Diana's arm and flirted with Leah. Logically, it should be a good thing that Diana found a friend she could get along with, but the problem was that Sarah was a magical person who was popular with both men and women. Honestly, her flirting skills were no less than Whitney's. Leah's smile faded, and she stared at Sarah with a serious face. "It's precisely because you're here that I'm worried. Sarah, I'm warning you, don't lead Diana astray, and don't do anything strange to her." Sarah pouted, somewhat reluctantly. She thought for a moment, then leaned close to Leah's ear and whispered, "How about I take you with me tonight? Take me with me?" At first, Leah thought it was exciting. Finally, she could experience the life of a man and two women in the United States. But then she thought, that didn't make sense. Diana was her girlfriend, so how could Sarah take her with her? Who was the star of the night? Shouldn't she take Sarah with her? Thinking of this, Leah pulled Diana back from the brink of danger. No, I don't want to. Diana, don't stay with Sarah anymore, you'll learn bad things. Diana sighed, and Sarah sighed with slight disappointment. What a shame. Everyone gathered and returned to Green Arrow's base. Along the way, Oliver opened up for once, breaking his usual reticent image and chatting happily with Dougal, Roy, and the others. Indeed, everyone had saved Star City today, and the police recognized the vigilantes' actions. The news media worked overnight to report, and tomorrow morning, they expected to be flooded with reports of all kinds of heroes. In fact, after all, not long ago, this madwoman had gone so far as to kill the entire population of Star City in order to destroy the legion of enhanced humans. The atmosphere instantly became tense. However, Amanda maintained a remarkably calm demeanor. You saved Star City, and that's truly remarkable. But I'm not here for you, Oliver, I'm here for this person. With that, Amanda pointed at Lee. Lee wasn't particularly surprised. After all, the Sky Eye Society specializes in superpowered incidents, and as someone with obvious superpowers, especially after destroying their drone, it was a wonder this hadn't caught their attention. Amanda could be quite rude to Oliver, but she didn't have the nerve to act so arrogantly in front of Leah. She reworded, or should I call you, Mr. Avenger? Your data has been completely wiped clean by someone proficient in hacking technology, but I still found some things. For example, the incident in Metropolis a few months ago was probably not a simple terrorist attack. And, the town, so? Amanda Waller, are you here to show off your powerful intelligence network? Leah stepped up to Amanda. Several agents around Amanda instantly pulled out their pistols and pointed them at Leah. Already succeeded in provoking me. State your intentions immediately, or I'll be rude. After hearing Leah's warning, Amanda waved her hand at her men. She wasn't here to cause trouble. Mr. Avenger, we know you possess extraordinary powers. First, on behalf of America, I need you to state your position. Normally, the Sky Eye Society doesn't operate this way. Their normal procedure is to assess a person's danger level and value. If the risk-to-value ratio is high, the Sky Eye Society will capture them and plant a bomb in their brain. If they cooperate with the Sky Eye Society, the bomb won't explode. On the other hand, if they refuse to cooperate, they will be annihilated. But this procedure clearly doesn't apply to Li Yam. I recommend a book from a friend, Dragon Ball, Legend of the Shepherd God. It's written by a veteran author, and the quality is guaranteed. I'm also reading it. Dragon Ball fans should check it out. Chapter 72, Alien Spaceship. Faced with the issue of Leah, the AIE Society was in a very awkward situation. Based on the limited information they had no confidence in being able to tie Leah up and plant a bomb in his head. That's why Amanda had specially found an opportunity to come to Green Arrow's base to confirm his position. Even a verbal statement would be acceptable. What else could they do? They couldn't win the fight. What if they angered the other party and they ended up carrying a missile and dropping it on the AIE Society headquarters? That would be embarrassing. Leah naturally Amanda's thoughts. He smiled and said, let me tell you this, the biggest difference between Oliver and me is that Oliver is a hero who will sacrifice everything for Star City, but I'm not a hero. I just prefer to teach bad guys a lesson. If a hero brings hope to people, then Leah defines himself as someone who brings despair to criminals. Amanda clearly wasn't taking this seriously. She stepped forward and said firmly, Mr. Avenger, I need you to clarify your stance on the American government. Come on, I'm not paid by you, so what do you expect me to do? If you don't bother me, I won't bother with you, Leah said casually. Amanda lowered her voice a few notches, even using honorifics to address Leah. I'm assuming for now that Mr. Avenger maintains a neutral stance on the American government. Then, do the woman behind you and the other vigilante who appeared in Metropolis share your stance? Of course, Leah said without further explanation. One last thing, Amanda waved to her agents, and a young, white agent brought a tablet. Seeing that Amanda wasn't being particularly secretive, gathered around. Although she didn't object to the crowd watching, she still gave a symbolic warning, pay attention. What you are about to see is a state secret. If it is leaked, it will be treated as treason. Felicity was the first to speak up. No problem, knows everyone that I am the most tight-lipped. Sarah nodded vigorously. Honey bunny. Honey bunny. I am also very tight-lipped. No one can ask any information from me. Oliver slapped his forehead, thinking that you two are even less trustworthy by saying this. Amanda took the tablet, connected to the Sky Eye Society's network, turned her back and entered her permission password. What she didn't know was that Leah could still clearly see what the password was. Afterward, Amanda held the tablet in front of everyone and explained, the Sky Eye satellite has captured an unidentified spacecraft, hovering tens of thousands of meters outside the satellite's synchronous orbit. Just as Amanda had predicted, a pitch-black vessel appeared in the center of the screen, hovering in space. It resembled a pitch-black jellyfish, with a large, flat, round head and three sharp, claw-like spikes below, now folding together. Wow! Is this an alien spacecraft? Felicity's hand trembled as she hacked into Amanda's tablet. She typed away furiously, then copied the video data over. A moment later, She exclaimed in surprise. Wow, according to my preliminary calculations, this spacecraft is about 400 meters long, and its structure is very strange. The data shows that it may be a combination of two parts, but it's also possible that aliens prefer this shape. It took a full 2 seconds for Amanda to react. She glared at Felicity and shouted, "Hey! What are you doing? Did you just hack my tablet?" Felicity spoke. "Delete your data immediately, or I will arrest you." Sorry. Felicity pressed the delete key with an embarrassed look. Leah stared at the screen, then raised his head, squinting as hard as he could, and looked towards the sky above Metropolis. Even with Leah's eyesight, he could only make out a tiny black dot in space. After all, the distance was too great, and the other party was hovering directly outside the satellite's synchronous orbit, making it difficult to detect even with a close look. "How long has that spacecraft been there?" Leah asked. 3 days ago, it suddenly appeared, as if it had ripped through space and arrived at Earth's periphery. Amanda tapped the screen a few times, and the image jumped to a scene from 3 days ago. At that time, there was nothing outside the synchronous orbit of the satellite. But the next second, the space there distorted, and a blurry spaceship suddenly appeared. Behind it, a series of shadows seemed to stretch out. As the shadows solidified, the spaceship appeared out of thin air, outside the synchronous orbit of the Earth's satellite. Oliver looked at Amanda in confusion and asked, "If they arrived 3 days ago, why have they remained in the sky? Have you tried to contact them?" "We tried to contact them, but there has been no response. President Aogwanhe is also aware of this and has ordered a state of alert. We don't know if they are friend or foe, but one thing is certain, their technological level far exceeds that of humans." As Amanda spoke, she looked at Leah. Of course, she couldn't know the connection between Leah and the spaceship, but as a senior government official, she needed to prepare for the worst. To deal with an unknown race whose technology far surpassed humanity's, Amanda felt that relying solely on the military was insufficient. Leah's performance during the Star City crisis had already proven his abilities, which was why Amanda had come to him. "They're hovering in the air, probably, basking in the sun," Leah said gravely. Sunbathing? The crowd was clearly puzzled by this statement. They flew all the way from an unknown galaxy, could they just bask in Earth's sun? Leah nodded, "Yes, they do. Earth's yellow sun grants them immense power." This Amanda made's eyes widen. "Mr. Avenger, do you know something?" "Yes, if nothing unexpected happens, this spaceship belongs to General Zod of Krypton. He came to Earth to transform it into Krypton," Leah said. At the mention of Zod, Diana's fighting spirit, dormant for months, finally ignited. She rushed to Lee and excitedly declared, "It must be Zod. Ares' lackey, the instigator of the Infinity War. Lee, let's go and eliminate him, shall we?" The scene was utterly awkward. Those in the know, like Oliver, covered their faces with their hands, pretending not to know this girl. Those who didn't, like Amanda, were completely bewildered. What was going on? "You told me there were aliens," which was already ridiculous enough, but how did Ares even show up? Could it be that the gods of the mythological era have also caught on and expanded their reach to the entire universe? Please note that the Kryptonian setting is based primarily on this book. There are many conflicts between the film and the comics, so please don't dwell on it. A Kydian reader offered a deeper interpretation of the book's setting in the book review, which I found quite reasonable and has given it an excellent rating. Readers can check out the Kydian review section. Non-essential settings are based primarily on this book, so please don't take it too seriously. Chapter 73, Aogwanhe's Invitation. Leah pushed Diana back into her chair. "Don't mess around. Let's get down to business." Diana looked aggrieved, and Amanda tapped her head, tentatively asking, "You said the Kryptonians in the spaceship are coming to invade Earth." "That's conceivable," Leah agreed. Amanda thought for a moment, then asked, "Okay, if what you say is true, how do you know all this?" "I can share some information, but Amanda, I have a condition," Leah said. "Let me hear your conditions first," Amanda asked, folding her arms. Leah cleared her throat and said, "I want to form a league, the Justice League, a league of vigilantes. Talk to your boss for me. If he recognizes its legitimacy, that's great. Otherwise, no discussion." As a supernatural power research institute, the Sky Eye Society's direct superior is the President of the United States, President Aogwanhe. Amanda pondered for a moment. Establishing a special unit requires not only the President's approval but also the State Department's approval. along with defined subordinate lines and levels of authority. Stop. I think you misunderstood. The Justice League doesn't accept U.S. government control. I'm just politely informing you. After what happened in Star City, you should know that there are some things ordinary police can't handle, like this alien spacecraft. If I leave it alone, do you think the U.S. military can solve it? Leah asked. At this point, Amanda fell into deep thought. The other side clearly possessed technology far superior to humans. On a technological level alone, they were already winning, which was why Amanda had come to Leah. She wanted to use superpowers to bridge the technological gap, but she hadn't anticipated Leah's exorbitant demands, demanding the establishment of the Justice League. Amanda snorted coldly, I'll tell the president your exact words and see what he thinks. You'd better pray that the president will support the establishment of the Justice League, otherwise I will release this recording tomorrow. After saying that, Leah took out a recorder from the phone and pressed the play button. It played the phone recording between Oliver and Amanda. Upon hearing this recording, Amanda's face turned green. Leah couldn't help laughing. I believe you know what to do. Okay, I'll contact President Oliver right away and notify you as soon as I have news. I hope you can keep your promise and share all the information about Krypton. Before the voice fell, Amanda shook her chin and walked out of the Green Arrow base in high heels. Several agents behind her also followed her out. Oliver looked at Leah with admiration and smiled. Not bad. I've never seen anyone so pissed off as this. Them to the front lines. After all, the Sens is responsible for investigating superpowers. Even if they won't be sent to fight the Kryptonians directly, they'll at least be tasked with gathering intelligence on them. With such easy access to information, there's no reason to refuse. Are you really going to tell them about the Kryptonians? Green Arrow, who knew more, scoffed. Leah sneered, but I'll get paid. O'Kara has recognized the legitimacy of the Justice League, so I have to ask for funding, right? And so do all the countries around the world. We maintain world peace, and they just take the money. From now on, the Justice League's slogan will be, the Justice League, pay them. As for the Kryptonian intelligence, once Zod invades, the world will know of Krypton's existence, and Leah's intelligence will be worthless. So, he should take advantage of this moment to get as much as he can. While everyone at the base was chatting, Leah called Clark and told him about the spaceship. Is it Zod? Yes, it's almost certainly Zod. Leah, do you think he'll start a war? You know you have the Codex of Life on you, and he'll stop at nothing to get it. Then if I sacrifice myself, do you think he'll leave? That would be great, but Zod won't let Earth go easily. Earth has a young yellow sun. Get ready for battle, Clark. 2 hours later, Amanda sent someone to inform Leah that President O'Connor had invited Leah to the White House for tea and had sent a special car to pick him up. The president's invitation surprised Leah, but on reflection, it made sense. While this might not be humanity's first contact with an extraterrestrial civilization, it was the first time an extraterrestrial civilization had appeared openly within human view. During the days that the spacecraft had been hovering outside the satellite's synchronous orbit, high-ranking officials from various countries who had discovered it had been arguing furiously. The president would surely be eager to be the first to obtain intelligence on extraterrestrial civilizations. However, Leah declined the private car ride, as it was too slow for him. No need to come pick me up, just tell President Aogwan I'll be at the White House in 2 minutes. After hanging up the phone, Leah changed his clothes in a flash, announcing that he would be back soon. Flying from Star City to the White House, Leah pushed his speed to the limit. After breaking the sound barrier several times, the White House was already within sight. At this moment, a group of people stood at the door of the White House. Some were pot-bellied, some had thinning hair, and there were also many guards surrounding them. The group was led by a thin black man, dressed in a suit and with a distinguished demeanor. He stood straight in front of the group, looking up at the sky. Headsets instinctively reached for their guns at their waists. Thanks to Amanda's repeated assurances, it was only these special guards, not a military unit, that were accompanying them. Compared to the others' flustered expressions, the leading black man remained noticeably calmer. He strode towards the slowly descending Leah, extended his hand, and said with a smile, "Hello, Mr. Avenger. I'm Aogwan, the President of the United States." Leah extended his hand and politely shook it. "Hello, Mr. President." The others behind him fell silent in unison, all eyes fixed on Leah. Aogwan smiled faintly, not mentioning the spaceship in the sky. Instead, he extended his hand toward the White House. Mr. Avenger, please come in. Then, he led the way, ushering Li Ye and the group inside. Although Guanhe didn't specifically introduce the other people, Li Ye guessed they were mostly high-ranking American officials, otherwise they wouldn't be here. Entering the reception room, Guanhe's guard asked Li Ye what he would like to drink. While Guanhe said he was inviting Li Ye for tea, that was just a pretense. After all, not all Americans drink tea like the Chinese do. Some might prefer coffee, while others prefer whiskey. Only Guanhe, fascinated by Chinese culture, would brew some tea every day. Just give me a cup of hot chocolate, Li Ye said to the guard with a smile after taking a seat. Once the tea was ready, the guard immediately left the reception room and closed the door. The room was small. Li Ye and Guanhe sat facing each other on two sofas, with another long couch to the side. Guanhe picked up the long Jing tea in front of him, took a sip with a smile, and asked directly, Mr. Avenger, are you from Earth? Please vote for me. Chapter 74, System Upgrade Completed. In response to President Guanhe's question, Li Ye smiled and said, not only am I from Earth, I'm also of Chinese descent. You should be able to tell from my appearance. President Guanhe's eyes suddenly lit up. Chinese descent. I love Chinese culture. I'm guessing, maybe your mother is Chinese, my father is Chinese. Mr. President, you didn't invite me here today to check my household registration, did you? Li Ye quickly changed the subject. In reality, Guanhe was simply checking Li Ye's household registration. Never underestimate a ZK, he can extract countless insights from every word. Even today's conversation would undoubtedly be analyzed by professional analysts. Even though Li Ye usually wore Superman-like glasses imbued with the will of the universe, he couldn't reveal too much, so he decisively changed the subject. Li Ye saw through his trick. Guanhe smiled and pointed to two older men sitting nearby. Mr. Avenger, this is General Swanwick Avenger. This is General Swanwick Avenger of the North American Aerospace Defense Command, and this is Colonel Ryan from the 7th Military Region. It was Colonel Ryan who was in charge of the Metropolis incident. After hearing this, Li Ye immediately remembered, oh, it turns out that it was you who ordered the missiles to bomb me. Before he finished speaking, Colonel Ryan's face darkened, and he hurriedly explained, at that time, I didn't know that you were on our side. If I knew, stop, don't flatter yourself. I'm not on your side, Li Ye interrupted Colonel Ryan and looked at Guanhe. Mr. President, please judge for yourself. I was risking my life to protect Metropolis at that time. This guy, on the other hand, sent 6 Tomahawk missiles directly to my face. I even saved one of his pilots from the destroyer. How could he repay kindness with enmity? Guanhe knew everything Li Ye said. After the Metropolis incident, Colonel Ryan compiled all the information and reported it. Guanhe knew it very well. Guanhe gave a professional smile. Mr. Avenger, don't be angry yet. Colonel Ryan has written a profound self-reflection on this matter. He also heard you want to establish the Justice League and fully supports it. He's willing to donate 20% of the funding. Colonel Ryan, upon hearing this, flinched like a deflated ball. The very act of offering 20% of the funding immediately threatened to leave the 7th Military Region in dire straits. Li Ye's eyes lit up. This Guanhe was truly a shrewd man. He could have left Colonel Ryan out of the event today, but he'd brought him along anyway. Tricking him out of funding was one thing, but offering Li Ye a favor was the real deal. He didn't have to contribute a penny, and while he'd helped Colonel Ryan ease the conflict with Li Ye, he'd also earned Li Ye a favor. So, Mr. President, you recognize the legitimacy of the Justice League. Li Ye wasn't in a rush about the funding issue. Talk to Guanhe again once the Justice League was truly established. Guanhe nodded. You're more professional than us in handling certain matters. I can acknowledge the legitimacy of the Justice League. Of course, I can't make the final call on the World Security Council, but I believe they'll change their minds once this alien spaceship incident is resolved. Li Ye didn't know how much to believe in such polite words. After all, from Guanhe's perspective, he had much more to consider than Li Ye. But the good news was, at least the president wouldn't openly object. The topic naturally shifted to the alien spaceship. Li Ye knew Guanhe would ask about it next. Li Ye didn't hold back, and gave the 3 people a general overview of Krypton's situation. He explained Superman's existence, Zod's purpose, and, of course, kept the information about Kryptonite secret. After all, Lee wasn't sure if these politicians, knowing the existence of kryptonite, would just spread a few more around the world. Would that be just looking for trouble? An alien has lived on Earth for so many years, and his planet is destroyed. The remaining refugees plan to destroy Earth and Krypton, General Swanwick asked incredulously. Mr. Avenger, are you sure you didn't see this in some sci-fi movie? In fact, Lee had indeed seen it in a movie. But with an alien spaceship hovering overhead, they couldn't help but believe it. Gwen was more focused on solving the problem at hand. What are your countermeasures this time? Mr. Avenger, I'd like to hear your advice. I plan to talk to Superman. We'll go to that spaceship tomorrow and see if there's any room for negotiation. If not, just launch a nuclear bomb at the spaceship in the sky, Lee said with a gesture. Will a nuclear bomb destroy their spaceship? General Swanwick's eyes were filled with anticipation. If a single nuclear bomb could solve the problem, then it wouldn't be a problem at all. Lee shook his head. Probably not. Their shipboard energy shields are more than just for show. You should launch a few more nuclear missiles while they're still in the air, otherwise, once they land, you'll be out of the picture. Earth's military couldn't participate in a battle between Kryptonians. Their forced entry would only make the scene more lively. But Lee's words were a bit jarring. Gwen ignored the final issue and made the final issue decision. Then do as you wish. Make contact with the enemy first. I'll prepare a space shuttle for you tomorrow, no need. Superman and I can just fly up. Lee refused again. The three people present listened to Lee's casual talk of flying into space, each with a look of shock. The mere fact that Lee could fly was already challenging enough for them, but now you're saying you can even fly into space. That's space. Have you ever seen a normal Earthling survive in space? Mr. Avenger, are you really from Earth? Gwen asked again, uncertainly. Granted, Lee assured him, patting his chest. The next day, the North American Aerospace Defense Command and the 7th Military District established a base in the suburbs of a nearby metropolitan area. America is vast and sparsely populated, and the suburbs of this generation are somewhat desolate, making it a perfect base for a temporary military base noon to finalize their plan of action. System upgrade complete, some functions optimized, expansion slots enabled. Hearing the system's voice in his mind, Lee quickly used his consciousness to open the system interface. Sure enough, after this upgrade, the system interface had a more technological feel. In addition to the original 2 card slots, a vertical row of expansion slots had been added on the right side. System, could you at least explain to me what has been optimized, and what exactly is this expansion slot? Lee muttered to himself, but the system, as aloof as ever, ignored him. However, it was an optimized system after all, and just as Lee raised his question, a dialog box, similar to a label, suddenly appeared on the system interface, seemingly containing some kind of explanation. Chapter 75, Extreme Speed Field. Advanced System 2.0, optimizing the fusion rate of the main card slot, increasing it from 2% per year to 4% per year, optimizing the skill effect value of the secondary card slot, increasing it from 10% to 20%, expanding and updating the slave card slot. When a slave actively recognizes the master, the host obtains a slave card. Effect: the host can detect the slave's loyalty, from 0 to 100. If the loyalty drops below 50, it is considered treason, and the host can actively destroy the slave card, directly eliminating it. In addition, the host gains an additional slave card exclusive skill. After reading the tab dialog box that popped up on the system interface, he understood the details of the system optimization and upgrade. By the way, shouldn't this system be called the friendship system? What the hell is the advanced system? Never mind these details. Judging from the situation in the main card slot, Lee finally understood why his basic attributes were getting stronger. It turned out that he was fusing the Superman card. Based on the original system fusion rate, it would take him 50 years to fully fuse the Superman card, but after the update, it only took 25 years. Perhaps the system can continue to upgrade, and the fusion time should be even shorter then. As for the secondary card slot, there's not much to say, it simply has some improved stats. The only significant difference is the double Diana Lover effect. So, it seems that Lee's overall ability is now significantly closer to Clark's. As expected, the secondary card slot's effects are quite impressive. As for the newly updated slave slot, Lee used his mind to summon his first slave card, The reverse flashcard. Equip the reverse flashcard. With a thought, Leah equipped the reverse flashcard to the newly added slot on the upper right corner. A figure in a yellow bodysuit, surrounded by red lighting, appeared in the first slot. Suddenly, Harrison Wells, Reverse Flash, far away in a cutting-edge technology lab in Central City, had his mind replaying the scene of his own voluntary submission. He looked out the window in horror, only to see Leah's figure. He inexplicably felt a sense of being controlled by someone else. Reverse Flash's loyalty is only 59. Solo, Leah looked at the health bar below the reverse flashcard. It read only 59, indicating he was on the verge of betrayal. His unique skill is Speed Domain. Without the Speed Force, his speed quadruples for 2 seconds. With the Speed Force, he gains speeds that surpass all others for 0.5 seconds. Recover time, 1 hour. After reading the description of Reverse Flash's unique skill, Leah thought it was quite impressive. Barry hadn't woken up, and even though half his character card was already purple, Leah couldn't access the Speed Force from his card. However, even without the Speed Force, Leah's speed quadrupled in 2 seconds after activating this skill, reaching the speed of the Flash who had just gained the Speed Force. Once Leah gained the Speed Force, it was even more incredible, instantly achieving that surpassed all others. Even though it was only 0.5 seconds, in the world of speedsters, 0.5 seconds is a very long time. Unfortunately, Reverse Flash was Barry's mother's murderer, so Leah couldn't possibly recruit him Speed into the Justice League. Even their master-servant relationship was shady. But then again, Reverse Flash's presence as a hidden talent was Leah. Get up. Didn't we agree to go to the Metropolitan at noon? Diana emerged from the bathroom and saw Leah still lying in bed. She angrily kicked the bed. With a loud bang, the bed shattered. Leah scrambled to her feet from the pile of broken wood. Hey. I finally managed to avoid shattering this bed yesterday. This is the 8th bed we've changed. I'm afraid this hotel will blacklist us from now on, when a sudden thought struck him, activating the unique ability of the reverse flashcard. For a moment, the world seemed to freeze, and this feeling of stillness was even more pronounced than when Leah had previously activated his super speed. Awesome, Leah addressed as she walked towards Diana. Diana seemed to realize Leah was using super speed, and her eyes slowly shifted, constantly focusing in Leah's direction. But no matter how hard Diana tried, she couldn't keep up with Leah's speed expected of this extreme speed realm. Even Diana can't keep up with me now. Leah walked over to Diana, leaned over, and kissed her gently on the lips before heading to the bathroom. It wasn't until Leah entered the bathroom that Diana's face flushed shyly, and she made a move to push Leah away. Leah finished washing up and waited at the hotel entrance, only to realize that only 0.7 seconds had passed, with 1.3 seconds left. Otherwise the next 1.3 seconds would feel like 13 minutes. What? Leah? What did you just do? How did you become so fast? Diana's voice followed, staring at Leah with a puzzled look. Didn't you tell me to hurry up? I'm almost out, and you're complaining about my speed. Leah looked aggrieved. Diana understood the meaning, but it felt strange. Unable to understand why, she gave up. The two of them had brunch in the hotel restaurant, where Oliver Roy and the others were already waiting. Needless to say, they also wanted to participate in this operation. But Leah refused without hesitation. The reason was simple: the Kryptonian War was simply not something that ordinary people could participate in. Even if some kryptonite was given to them, Zod's subordinates were warrior naturals. They would not be as merciful as Superman. Just imagine, during Batman vs. Superman, if Superman wanted really to kill Batman, what would happen even if the other party had kryptonite? He would kill him without hesitation. Oliver, your mother has just been elected mayor of Star City, and your sister is in a cold war with you because of your biological father. We are here in Metropolis. You should spend more time with your family during this time, Leah suggested. Okay, Leah, you can call me anytime if you need anything. Oliver was a little disappointed, but he could understand. After brunch, it was already 10 o'clock. Leah said goodbye to the Green Arrow team, and Diana took straight to the temporary military base on the outskirts of Metropolis. Note, the Speed Force can be considered a fundamental energy source. Only those who can draw energy from it are called speedsters, and only speedsters can use it to break through the barriers of time and space, traveling into the past and future. A simple argument is that Reverse Flash is trapped in this era, And while he's much faster than the Flash, he can't travel through time and space. The main reason is that Reverse Flash's speed comes from superluminal particles, not the Speed Force. So cool. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.